No. Skynet's been upgraded.
Zoya, what's going on?
Alexei! Come on, anyone, do you copy? Nox, confirm your position.
The deal is clear. I'll help you remove your relink and escape Havoc. But first, you infiltrate the Skynet terminal and restore our comms. Respond immediately.
I'm in position. All clear.
Find the terminal. Alright?
Welcome home. While unsucceeding compatibilities with reading has been astonishing. You are truly one of a kind. Don't resist. Embrace.
Get out of my head!
Find him! Go!
Let's spread a little panic.
We've got you surrounded! Enemy over here!
What's your status? Have you found the terminal?
We've been set up. The server room's empty.
I was right. You're still the best. I knew you'd come back. But here's the truth. It's not Havoc that needs you. It's you that needs Havoc. We are the future.
Find the terminal.
Your compatibility really has been.
Billy de Montbell. Call sign Nox, assault operator. Trained by Havoc, Nox is a seasoned mercenary with rich experience. As a man of few words who prefers to operate independently, his collaboration with GTI is a product of necessity rather than a choice. Specializing in information disruption with proficiency in various combat techniques, he excels in stealth operations. Like a cold dagger, he exposes vulnerabilities in enemy defenses to strike at their throats. Nox's tactical equipment, Silent Assault, consists of an information jammer and sonic jammer. When activated, the disruptors emit sonic interference waves, minimizing Nox's sound propagation and the alert range of enemies. While this interference is in effect, enemy recon tools are unable to pinpoint Nox's exact location.
Allied forces are engaging at objective level.
Alright then, let's see how you do.
So, Kushti, you ain't seen nothing yet. I've got an ace in the hole.
We're not done here.
Did you really think we're just here to play cards? Like I said, I've got an ace in the hole.
Man's fear of darkness is imprinted in our genes. In the absence of light, we become prey, hunted by nameless dangers and unknown fears.
Where do you think Havoc's boss went?
Dead, probably.
Then who's paying their soldiers? Who's there?
We try to seek solace by the faint light of fire.
Where is that noise from?
But a deal was made with the dark. And the darkness became a weapon. There's no waiting for the protection of dawn. A winner must be crowned tonight.
Hostiles detected.
Well, good afternoon, or frankly, it's going to be a good evening for everybody out there watching. Welcome to the Delta Force Global League Season 1, and of course, it is North America Operations Finals. We had Europe this morning, and it was unbelievable. It was a nail-biter. You got to go back and watch it, and I can only expect the competition today with North America is going to be just as hot, just as spicy, and just as strategic. We are into operations. We had Warfare yesterday. It was so much fun, and this is going to end our first season here with Delta Force Global League. You're not going to want to miss today. And I got to remind you too, of course, you've got to go download Delta Force right now. You can get it on just about every single platform you can think of. You can see the launcher link down below. Go click that, get it on PC, or of course you can head over to Steam and the Epic Games Store to download the PC version. But mobile version is here. Delta Force has come to mobile. It's cross progression. There's a lot of good opportunities to play this game on coffee breaks, lunch breaks, or anything in between, and level up your account, get your weapons right, get your skills right, or just play on mobile in general. A lot of good things in the Delta Force ecosystem. You're not going to want to miss it, including today. Let's bring back Spider Tiff yet again in the booth with me. We have had a blast all day today, all day yesterday, all week, frankly. It has been a Delta Force fiesta, and we get to end out our esports circuit here with North America Operations. How excited are you?
I'm amped. I wouldn't want to end it any other way, but I don't even want it to end at this point, considering all of the action that we got to witness over in Europe. I'm hoping that North America Operations comes through with nothing less than spectacular action and all over the place different pacing, because like you said, we saw Warfare yesterday, which was so high octane, which we were like, okay, you know, Operations gonna slow it down a bit.
Yeah.
No, we got so much action.
Well, let's take a look at the format. What you saw in Europe, you're going to see a lot more of that today. If you're tuning in for the very first time, let me explain. Now, we have 6 teams of 3, and all 6 of these teams qualified for this stage. Really cool to see them not only go through online qualifiers, but also go through a series of custom semifinals based on the week that they qualified. And so we have pared it all the way down to these 6 teams throughout the course of multiple layers of qualifiers. It's esports after all, and today we're going to be playing a total of 4 maps. We're going to be starting at Brackish, we're then going to Space City, then to Zero Dam, and then back to Brackish to finish things out. And the only restrictions today is very simple. All of our players are able to use their accounts to bring in all of the gear that they love to use in traditional operations. One exception to that is you can't use any tier 6, any red items at all, including, of course, you can't use key cards at all. So that's basically the only restriction. So you're going to be seeing a lot of gold, a lot of powerful, a lot of high value loot, I'm going to be honest, on every single box. And then finally, the scoring is also quite simple. You just get your extracted loot value if you get out, and then we're adding in an extra bonus per kill of $200,000, or rather technicalloy, if you will, per kill in game. And if you're able to get 8, for instance, that's an extra 1.6 mil on top of your overall score line, the loot you extract with. And it is a way that you can actually earn without getting taken out. Now, I will say our prizing today is very exciting as well. Our players have been able to earn prizing through the qualifiers, but today's prizing is on your screen. 1,500 for the team in first, and that's obviously split between the trio at the top and then second place and so on and so forth all the way down. Everybody's making some money today because they went through 2 rounds of qualifiers to get here. It's just a matter about how much. And frankly, Tiff, 200 versus 1,500, we're going for gold. We're going for first every day of the week. That's exactly what we saw in EU. Of all of our players, even at the bottom of the leaderboard, we're swinging for the fences in the very last seconds of the last map. And
you're definitely not wrong about that, Roche. Like, that was my favorite part. I thoroughly loved that. When you literally come down to the final seconds, he means it. Within 5, go watch your own.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, it was wild.
It was wild. Let's take a look at the teams and talk about some of these folks. I've said this every single broadcast we've done, Tiv, and I love the fact that we're getting a chance to see Delta Force Esports online, on display, because you may not recognize many of these names. Now, some of these names, maybe you do if you've been watching Delta Force content or Delta Force competitions. They've been around the block. There's some familiar faces, or maybe some familiar org names. Shout out Twisted Minds, a very famous organization in the esports ecosystem, bringing in a Delta Force team. But some of these folks are just friends that said, let's try to make this thing happen. And they made it all the way here to the Global League main stage. And so I'm excited about this. I'm excited to see what these teams were able to do. And I had a chance to watch them in the semifinals. And Tiff, I got to say, they're all very, very talented.
I am going to go ahead and believe you on that one, because as I'm looking at our teams from Alpha Group, it's going to be the ones at the top: EBT, REC, BeegBoeies. And I was tuning into some of their streams, watching VODs from semis alone. And if you've got a team that from semis came in with a total of 32 million. Now, granted, we didn't see anything like that in the grand finals for Europe Warfare, but they were operations. They were averaging, what was it, like 12 to 14 mil?
Yeah.
Per map, I would say, for the winners, right?
Yeah.
So we gotta come in, you gotta throw down and be less conservative, but I do like that we have that litmus test of a map number 1. My question is, will we see these teams kind of recreate what we saw in Europe, or will they go for a different strat?
Yeah, I don't know. I think we oftentimes have conversations around the differences between North America and Europe, and that was the case also in Warfare. So I'd be curious to see if we see those differences in operations. Again, here's a quick look at those maps and the way we're progressing through them. Map 1, 2, 3, 4. We're starting in Brackish, and we're going to end in Brackish, and a couple cool maps to go through between the two. Now, starting out in Brackish in Europe, we saw a very slow, very timid start for a lot of these teams. Maybe we can call it strategic. I don't think a single bullet was fired on the map, not even against AI to give away positions. It was all data knives and maybe some recon arrows or shock arrows from Luna to be able to take out the AI. It truly was the first bullet that was taken on the map was at like 15 minutes into the map. It truly was one of the most patient and slow played maps I've ever seen. But of course, when we went back to Brackish the second time, it was all out chaos. I mean, people were fighting within the first 30 seconds and it didn't stop until the end of the map. So I don't know where we'll start or how we'll start, but if history is going to repeat itself, this first map probably going to be a bit more strategic. We get to talk a little bit more about those teams.
I'm curious. I don't know if they will go strategic or if you'll have people that are like, I just want to fight. I know that maybe they tuned into the broadcast earlier and they saw the biggest value that they were getting was by eliminating all the other teams and taking their loot, denying them access to extracting and maximizing their potential. Because you're 100% right. When it came to even jumping on over to Space City, we started seeing extraction points being camped out. So I'm here for a good time. Do it all. Bring the chaos.
Yeah, bring the chaos indeed. I got to shout out a couple more of our teams. I think we're waiting for our very first lobby to get started in just a moment. I'd love to pull back up those teams graphics if we can and talk a little bit more about them, because I did have the pleasure of watching the semifinals that was offline. And I got to say, we talked about consistency about squads. Obviously, we have our top teams today that really dominated in the qualifiers, but I got to call out a team that kind of snuck in at the last second. I was watching Sweet, Sassy, and Classy throughout the course of the semifinals, and Tiff, I'll tell you what, they came in to the last map and were in dead last by a large margin. They then wipe almost the entire lobby and walk out with almost 21 million loot value in a single map to qualify for today's event. So yes, consistency is important. It makes your job way easier, but one absolute banger of a map could totally change how much money you're taking home today. So I've got my eyes on Sweet, Sassy, and Classy to see if they repeat history or if maybe they come out swinging a little bit earlier in this competition.
Look, I'm okay for Hail Mary plays like that. We were looking for some of those over in Europe this morning, and quite frankly, they were definitely trying to put on and play by that role. However, I will say that roster up at the top, EBT, that's your first place team from the Alpha group. I was told you, listening to some of the ways they were playing throughout the semis, and their comms are so cohesive when it comes to taking those fights on the map, whether it's resource management of the utilities that their operators have, just everything that they were looking at in terms of their callouts being efficient. They're going to be incredibly formidable anytime they come up against another team.
Yeah, and I could talk about Twisted Minds for a while too, because not only was I able to watch those players play for a while, but also just statistically, SNK on the side of Twisted Minds is going to be their entry fragger. He was the one that was picking up most of their kills, net about a 1.4 mil in loot value based on the 7 kills he was able to pick up in a total of 4 maps. So overall, kills are going to go far, but frankly, the kills go far for multiple reasons. When you start thinking about the loot that people are bringing in, if you didn't watch this morning, I mean, you're looking at a single weapon with a value of somewhere around like 700,000 Technic alloy. So there's a massive boon for getting team wipes, but also a massive boon for third-partying teams and getting involved in a 3-team fight. You clean up the trash. Even if you only pick up a kill, it doesn't matter. You're going to get a crazy amount of loot from those players. So that's what we're looking out for. We're looking out for some of those engagements. And we're looking out for the teams that are trying to hold their hold their tongue a little bit, not shoot any fights that they don't need to take, wait for a little while, and then enter into that fight late, clean up the mess, and take a ton of loot home. Some crazy values in the last one, and I'm sure we're going to see it again this time. But Brackish is where we are starting, and I'm excited to get there because we know that the Tower of Babel is going to be chaos, likely early, whether it's chaos in the Cold War sense or if it's chaos in an actual war sense. Either way, it's going to be nuts down there. The best loot on the map, and also multiple teams tend to spawn there. So let's see where everybody's spawning. Let's drop into the map. Let's take a look at where these teams go and how they operate. And already, immediately, as expected, 2 teams around Babel, and it looks like one team's going to play the outside and make sure they are ready for all of the action.
See, now this is what I was excited about. It's like, would the squad in the center of your screen near Royal Museum. So think back to how the initial opening of Brackish started over on the European side. The team that landed near Royal Museum just kind of set up shop there and was patiently waiting for the large majority of the teams, because there's so many infill slots around this that we thought there was going to be a ton of action, right? No, it was definitely more of a pause. Everything really kicked off down there in the south with a new Tower of Babel, and the team that actually spawned on the inside got camped out for a large majority.
Yeah, it's a great shout. I think the museum is going to be a great power position on this map based on what we've seen in the past and just generally where it's located. Obviously, I'm looking over at Killza on the right-hand side playing around camp. They've got a nice kind of eastern side of this map to play around by themselves for a little while. pending where FN9 decides to rotate. But this is a nice overhead look on board with our free cam observers. I love this look of where everybody's located, who could potentially interact first, where our first shots could be taken first. And it's looking like it will be Babel, but I am not 100% certain of that, as maybe Chompin will be our first aggressive player to take some shots down lane and see if they can open up this fight. Otherwise, if history is going to repeat itself, we're going to be here for a little while, letting them loot and letting them figure out where their opponents are. Information gathering, certainly the key.
I think so. Well, Spades, January Grim, the team from EBT, Alpha Group, first place on your screen. And, well, just looking around, right, at what they're using, what weapons they brought on in, Spades kind of locking in with that D-Wolf, which is interesting, right? Because I think I was in semis, they were running double Luna. I know January was definitely locked in, playing Luna in semis, and then Grid was pretty flexible, played a lot of Viren, but, you know, changing things up here. And I like that, right? You have to be able to adapt throughout this.
Yeah, I think adapting with operators is going to be a huge boon for certain. And I think weapons, we're seeing mostly the same weapons every single time. If you've seen the kind of operations meta, if you will, you notice the M14, the SVD, M700. But then you've got people like Mr. Rogue Pringle on your screen right now, who's running the PKM, and he ran the PKM during the qualifiers as well, and it worked out for him, obviously. I mean, they made it to this stage, so hey, who knows? Whatever you're comfortable with is going to work out well for you. Here's a quick look at what they brought into the map. And one of the other key rules, of course, is that our safe boxes are not being used during this competition, and so some of our players elected to fill it with yogurt just to make sure that they wouldn't accidentally use it.
Perfectly understandable. Gotta get the yogurt, especially in the evening here in North America, but just kind of dealing with some of the soldiers here on the map, outskirts of the tower now. But when you fire that weapon, what's gonna happen is, well, Spades is gonna find out that you're potentially here. They're gonna look to put that pressure down, but you can't just stand out in the middle and leave line of sights open.
So hilarious that there's just this like final boss that is, you know, I think it's Spades up in the kind of rooftop, in the window that you can't, of course, shoot through. But it's brackish, and all of a sudden, this Blue Eagle, this Havoc helicopter is going to start barraging you if you're just out in the open in the middle of the street dancing at your opponent. I mean, Spades got a ton of info from that, and all of a sudden, this team had to totally bail into cover because they're just getting peppered by this helicopter, and it's not going to go away anytime soon. This is a hilarious start to this map. Totally different than what we were expecting, but what a great way to start.
No, just a big bullseye on your back. Like, Spades is just standing there like, yeah, clearly someone's outside our tower, by the way. Something is happening, but we have retreated inside to the building. We've momentarily healed back on up, and maybe reassess the situation of how we want to approach this now that our entire information has been given away.
Yeah, exactly. But slowly but surely, we're going to make our way back into the open and try to figure out where do we want to go from here. And this is about par for the course of what we expected. A lot of more slower play. You know, the first 10 minutes or so of this map, you know, our teams don't need to loot if they have Babel by themselves for the most part, which it's looking like that Spades team likely will. They could find some really good loot in there. Worthwhile to loot around, try to find what you can. I said this during the EU broadcast, and I want to reiterate it. There was an EU player during semifinals that literally found the heart of Africa. It was unbelievable. 13 million loot value, by the way, just by opening the right box. So as much as we talk about fighting and team fights being the most important thing, if you open the right box at the right time, you could set your team up for winning $1,500 rather than $200. I mean, it's just that simple. So it's definitely worth looting. And if you've got Tower Babel to yourself, loot around, see what you can find. It's looking like that team is already doing that.
Oh, popping on board here, Infant Baby B kills all. The squad here, Sweet Sassy and Classy, the one that made that heck of a run in the semis. Staring down. Likely moved in after the chaos that they had from the heli above, because Rogue, Pringle, and co. just on the other side in that building.
Yeah, and I will say this many times throughout today's broadcast, as I did during Europe, that patience is a virtue. And, well, it looks like Killzall says, I'm not a big fan of patience. I'm going to throw some bullets down range because I know how valuable a knock could be if I land this SV98 headshot. And it's looking like a couple different snipers in the hand of this team. Surprised to not see a couple M700s. Instead, we see an R93, an SV. Whatever works for you, whatever you're the most comfortable with. And it's looking like that team was more favoring towards ADS speed on some of those builds and less more traditional sniping. But apparently it's paid off. It looks like BeegBoeies is our first victim, fully eliminated, by the way. I guess that's the nature of the game when there's multiple snipers staring down at you. I think we missed that kill off screen, but unfortunately, no chance of getting that revive anytime soon.
Gonna force the slowing of the pace here. Now, granted, the team that's on the opposing side looking at them, how do we feel about the fact that they've locked in knocks? Now, we did see a couple knockses over in Europe, very few, far between. Not sure if it actually made a difference in terms of the longevity and some of like making value with the resources out of fights, because even then they got ratted on and kind of we saw them getting camped on exfils as opposed to being able to use his kit and the abilities for those flanks that are so critical for the success of using Nox as the operator.
Yeah, I like Nox a lot. I think he's actually quite valuable when it comes to operations. His kit is, I think, very favorable for operations in comparison to Warfare, so I think you will see a few folks use him today. I think we only saw one in Europe, but he got a couple really nice team fights using his kit in its entirety. And yeah, so I'll be curious. It looks like Killcell's using him right now as well. It's really powerful, I think, mostly because of his abilities of combat abilities. I mean, you were talking about the discs. Obviously, health regen is a huge piece of these fights. It's not everything, though. I think oftentimes you think about repairing your vests as probably the most important thing, repairing your helmets, which I think their opponents weren't able to do too much on the other side. But at the same time, being able to use that flash grenade that he's got in the middle of combat. I mean, we literally watched a player in EU get a double kill off of it. It was 1v2 because he got the flash off at a perfect time. Silencing your footsteps. I mean, everybody's got their audio boosted to the max playing operations because one misstep could totally change everything. So yeah, I think his kit makes a ton of sense.
I'm just ready to see kind of some action come through from Killcell, but this is what happened in Brackish for the first map of the day. It was a very big kind of stalemate until we got to around that 13-minute marker, and then everything just broke through. So I think you're right here, especially with that tactical flashbang. And you kind of mentioned already, it was basically deep trauma, right? Couple differences, whether you play them in operations versus warfare, but in here, specifically for operations, it makes everyone, you know, have the delay on the medical supplies, the delay on the revive when down. So that is exponential when you get drawn out in an engagement.
Yeah, and I think it's a great shot. Like, if you're trying to met up in the middle of a fight, which everybody does, it is going to be valuable to some degree. I think most of these fights, the problem with using that ability is that most of these fights come down to 1 to 2 bullets. And so, yeah, you might try to res up, but I mean, like the opponent on the other side of our sniping crew here, 1, 2, and fully eliminated before you can even blink. So definitely some value there. But all of our operators have great value in operations in my mind. I think Luna's value obviously comes with information gathering, as our players are just getting harried by this helicopter. Here's a quick look at the overall map where our teams are at. And it does look like Chompin and Rogue Pringle are still pinned down on the right-hand side. Obviously, the other side of Infinite Baby, who's looking over from camp, to have been watching quite a bit of. But you can see one only FN9 IQ. They're actually starting to get a little bit interested in the fights over here. Again, third partying, we all know, is extremely valuable. It's a huge boon. Now, one thing, while we were so focused on this fight here, because it's the only action we've seen besides our friendly Havoc helicopter getting involved, let's take a look at Grim Spades down in the Tower of Babel. Now, we're talking about how valuable the Tower of Babel can be. Can I draw your attention? Not a single bullet's been shot by them yet. Can I draw your attention to their loot value? 7.6 million. They found something over there. While we're watching this fight, we got to check them out here in a second and see what they found. Because watch out for that cyan, that light blue. That team has casually racked up 7.6 million looting the whole Tower of Babel. Some nice RNG on their side.
Now just imagine what's going to happen once they start to get in engagements. I would love a nice start for them. Now, this is the team that was first place in the Alpha Group semis, and I believe it was, what, like 32 mil squad value that they had achieved for there. So if we're kicking things off looking for a potential 10 to 16 mil of value here just on the first map of Brackish, well, that's a heck of a way to kick things off and talk about some more action. Finally starting to trade out some utility here.
That flash nade is brutal. Looks like Killzall didn't really like the angle there against RDG, so instructed their team to back off and see where they're going. We got to find a new position to hold. Don't love being in this open position. I agree with them. I think if they had all the information that we had, maybe they would know that they actually weren't in too bad of a spot, but there was a huge risk of another team trying to roll up, and they would be trapped in the middle of the open. So instead, they've relocated to a building to try to play around. If they get pushed, if they get tracked down, have a much more favorable fight on their hands.
Ooh, back to the Tower of Babel we go. And you were asking about it. This squad in particular, EBT, what did they find here that was worth north of 7.7 mil?
It doesn't look like Spades has got it. He's got 181K, so it's not on Spades. It's on one of these other players. And I don't know what they've got because, yeah, Spades doesn't have anything. I think it's either January or Grim or somebody got something. We'll see if we can figure that out here in a little while.
No worries. Back to Killzall. Back to Code, moving around. Now you can see just in the distance right there, that purple. That's going to be the BeegBoeies. They've been inside the Royal Museum, and they've been locked down since the beginning. Now, the squad that played from that position in Brackish earlier in European side of things was the one that played spoiler for the large majority of our teams and was able to loot like 5 to 6 people.
Yeah, I think we found some things here. Let's keep looking around. I'm liking this. It looks like off-screen equal plays getting involved potentially in a fight. Continue to try to figure out what's going on around here, but I think with a couple people looking at each other and then this squad just holding down Babel. As a reminder too, Tiff, you had talked about this a ton earlier. You know, Babel has a couple extraction points around it, specifically the one at the top that has a weight limit to it. So I'm assuming they're going to protect that extraction point. We'll come back to them much, much later. They're going to be there for probably most of the map. We get into the action as equal plays has been knocked, but should be able to get rescued.
Ooh. Gotta find that information. Data knife going out. Wasabi. Keep tabs on it. At least you can see the setup for the fight there on the right-hand side of things and going on board with the left. This is how much I love the free cam, to be able to see the situations of what we're dealing with.
Yeah, it looks like Wasabi & Co. was actually the team that was able to grab the knock and full onto Killzall's third. It's going to be high BLD. So they're down in numbers. The relocation apparently not paying off for Killzall, because they're now down in numbers trying to figure out where do we go from here. Especially when this helicopter comes in, is going to start carrying our position.
Love seeing angles like this, especially through the windows. And yeah, you can't really afford to go outside that often with that helicopter lurking from above. And Wasabi on the other side still looking for more head peek information. Data knife's going out, and this is where equal plays. Like, I understand we're safe in here and we want to be conservative and find all that information. Granted, they've been here since the beginning of Brackish. They're comfortable playing the long game, and that patience has done so well for a lot of our teams just on the Europe Grand Finals, and will likely do so here. But this is giving teams time to either A, rotate out, look for exfils, or play around the northern exfils, or B, get to the center of the map and move in this area.
Yeah, I like that shot a lot. And Museum, again, is this spot that everybody's fighting around, or I say everybody, 2 folks are fighting around. And as we swing back to January and Spades, Grim, they're just getting some information, peeking through the windows. They've got a great idea where everybody's at right now. But not only use the tower for A bit of solace, a bit of loot, but also a bit of information. I like it.
I mean, they've just been witnessing it all go down. They're basically going to write a story after Brackish and be like, within minute 1-2, we saw the Havoc co-pilot and helicopter attack an initial team. They went running away, then they lost a player. We're getting the full journey. They're just basically scouting it out.
Yeah, and it looks like they actually, now that they have the information of where some of these teams are at, are actually going to drop back down to the bottom of Brackish. Back to the bottom of the tower and potentially get involved. Now, I saw what they had. I mean, they had a giant computer. They had a bunch of gold items, some of those cups. I don't know what they're called, but that added up to probably around 7 million or so. So I think they left that in a bag in a area of the Tower of Babel that they know they can get back to, thinking that they're going to extract there. It's kind of the idea of like, look, if we want to go fight, let's go fight. If we lose that fight with 7.8 mil loot on us, we're giving somebody a crazy amount of points. Let's instead go fight with none of our loot, and we'll be just fine. If we die, we die. And if we don't, we can grab their loot and then extract through the Tower of Babel. No way anybody's going to check this little travel bag that we stowed everything in. And we'll be good to go. I actually like the strategy a lot. It allows you to not even have to drop your entire backpack. Just stow it away in a little bag that nobody would probably check. Now, if a team goes up into the Tower of Babel and just happens to check where they stowed that loot, I mean, I'll eat a shoe on broadcast. I don't know what I'll do.
You're like, oh, whatever, that just happened.
That would
like
be
that
crazy.
would be such a rare thing to have happen, but you really never know at this point in time. I can see people right now, at least we're a duo, chomping, Rogue Pringle. I'm okay with this, right? Because you still have boots on the ground. Whether or not you have to go and play conservative around an extract, I think that might be good for your long game. Now, granted, where we're currently positioned puts us in a smidge of difficulty, right? You've got a couple of teams that have been playing further south than you, out towards the west. But we've got a scout here, because the moment we move, you can see the team that had done that, EBT, moving, leaving the Tower of Babel, is likely going to be focusing on getting active and grabbing some of the 200k loot value per kill.
Yeah, I like that shout. And, well, our map Overwatch position with our helicopter is deciding to get active yet again. Saying,
brutal,
get off of my map. And I think Spades has had it with our pilot immediately taking him out and saying, please stop shooting at me. And there's more apparently inside. Now they have to run for cover. It's just a depletion of resources at this point. Like, it's not even worth the time, but it's definitely giving away your position. And so that's the interesting piece, is how do we figure out where we want to go and then execute on the fight that we wanted to take, with this helicopter giving everything away.
This is like the third time this has happened to some of our teams. Because look at this. Immediately, the squad running into the tower. Now, Goj, I don't know if you remember, but a couple of minutes ago, you were like, what happens if a team moves into the Tower of Babel and finds this, light travel bag?
There's just no way.
What if it happens?
I mean, it might. If I'm telling you, if IQ runs into the Tower of Babel, finds the one travel bag that this Grim January and Spade squad stowed all of their loot, I'm literally going to lose it on Brad. I mean, it'd be the craziest instance of what's going on. But we got to focus on the attack at hand here. Rogue Pringle in deep trouble. I'm not sure exactly what knocked him. It might have been the helicopter itself. And off-screen, equal plays. Wasabi, they're getting involved very quickly. Able to pick up a couple here in transition. And that's going to be 2 going down. That's Infant Baby and Killzall now fully wiped. That team is out of here after losing 1 from the squad earlier. Finally getting fully wiped. That is our first team wipe of NA operations. And it's worked out well for them. That's 3 kills and, of course, 3.9 million already in their pockets. And there's probably more of that coming their way here shortly. Watch out for that squad in purple. Equal plays. 4.4 million and counting after looting all the bodies. They should be looking really strong to either extract or keep up the pace.
I mean, we knew this fight was going to break out, and it finally occurred for them. And we'll just keep tabs on where they decide to go from there. Back to EBT, though. After getting their initial positions given away, they've got to see. With IQ down, FN9 and 1 and only are going to have to answer back in a 2v3 scenario. Now, mind you, EBT is the team that I talked about at the top of the show. Their comms, when it comes to fighting, are so efficient and makes them incredibly scary to go up against.
agree. IQ fully down. Would have to be fully revived. It's going to be very difficult to do, if impossible. So, one and only FN9 trying to find an angle in a 2v3. 2v2, rather, it looks like. They're all three are there. I think one's a little bit split as per the usual, and off screen, another fight going down. Rogue Pringle finding an angle, picking almost 2 players up. RDG out of here. Loops in trouble. This is Twisted Minds trying to get the better of their opponents and struggling. SNK. There's 2 teams here fighting each other for position around Reservoir. And the fight from here could carry into the fight that's now back on our screen. These are massive moments because of the amount of just raw loot that's going to be on the ground.
Well, look at this. We've already turned it around, and FN9 pushes in with one and only right at their back. And just like that, the squad that we were hyping up fully wiped. Not going to get that bag they found, that they left.
Yeah, there's just 8 million in loot just lurking in the Tower of Babel right now, and a great effort from him. I like the strategy, a risky strategy. They could have just gotten out of here through the Tower of Babel with 8 million and said, that's not too bad. At least it'll set us up well for the other maps. But instead, playing high risk, high reward and getting punished for it. And now we only have a couple more maps, a couple more teams rather on the map. 3 total squads, 9 total players. They're able to get all revives and rescues and get restabilized. You can already tell. Look at Wasabi's team. They're currently at 9.3 million overall because of just the loot they got from that team they wiped. And a lot more about to exchange hands if SNK Twisted Minds does try to fight this IQ squad.
I mean, they're feeling confident. That's what I was telling you about. Playing around the Royal Museum. It's such a hotbed of activity. You can really find a lot of information. You don't have to overextend. You can whittle your player advantage into your favor because you pick off one, and then you don't even have to extend quite on out. Now moving through that mid-map, so keep tabs on them. But if I'm one and only FN9 after kind of looting up on EBT and basically having... what is it? They're going to get 600 scoreline from those fights.
Yep.
Brilliant. I think they actually have 4 kills, so maybe more than that.
Yeah, 800K on top of 5.8 plus. I mean, again, you got to remember the type of loot these people are bringing in. 750K per weapon. You're talking another 250K per armor piece pending. Like, a lot of value on each body. So these are massive moments. And you can see Wasabi and co are trying to figure out, how do we exfil at this point? How do we extract off of this map? Because frankly, yeah, we're looking great. 10.1 million overall as a loot value. Couple kills. Great way to start this thing. Not worth the risk of trying to wipe the rest of the lobby. And they don't even know necessarily that anybody's still left in the lobby right now.
That's true. That is, we definitely know a lot more than they do. So let's talk about what we've seen on Brackish in general. Typically, some teams will send a lot of the high value loot up into the upper floors of the Tower of Babel and have a single individual use that extract to get out and just say, hey, I've got 8 to 10 mil locked in, gone. Then they're going to focus and make their way to the north and go up to maybe Grand Hammond, and it's usually the western side just above on the north. No one is actually camping that anymore. Teams were originally starting to do that, but now with less than 5 minutes remaining, I would imagine we see a flurry towards the north.
Yeah, I mean, this is the moment that the rubber meets the road. Multiple teams going to the same extraction means we're likely going to see a bit more action in the final hour. If anybody paid attention during the EU broadcast and was able to wrap up the broadcast with us, you saw the utter chaos that ensued on the north side of the map at that final extract point in a moment's notice. But here we go. I think, yeah, I think these two teams are probably going to try to sprint into the Tower of Babel, potentially for this exfil. The problem is that we don't have a ton of time. And the longer we fight with each other, I know it sounds so menial and basic, but the longer we fight here, the less time we have to get to the extraction. Something we oftentimes will see these teams do is try to stack their loot on one player and make sure that player gets extracted, but they are able to sneak into this one, and they're going to just sneak on out of here. I think they are all gone. Well played on the side. I believe that IQ squad, that was sneaky, and it's IQ actually running up into the Tower of Babel. We've got SNK still on our screen, Twisted Minds. And then finally, our third team was able to sneak out of there. 10.1 mil, 3 kills. Very well done. I'm impressed with, I believe that was Wasabi's team. That's going to be the BeegBoeies, I believe is how you pronounce their name. barely got out of there.
Yeah, that was brilliant. Look, they grabbed the lever in the basement of Royal Museum, activated the exfil out front of the new Tower of Babel, and decided, hey, we are going to risk it. But there were so many people around there. The fact that they all three get out is so critical for them. For Lups, SNK, RDG still on the map, 8.8 mil. As long as we don't have any issues, but we could see this isolated 3v3 come out. Actually, just kidding, 3v1, because we did have one player get fully eliminated, one player already exfilled, but you're just trying to maximize your loot value based off kills. But at this point, with less than 3 minutes to go, you've got to focus on getting out of here.
Yeah, I'm going to be honest. Production corrected me, by the way. I was brutalizing their team name. I think it's just a crazy spelling of BeegBoeies. So that's what I'm going to call them from now on. They can tell me I was. They can tell me if I was originally right. But they're out of here. That's that Wasabi team. A great extract in the middle of some combat, to be honest. We were able to sneak in there and just sneak out of the map. And you're right, it does look like IQ was able to fully extract out of this map, likely with a sizable amount of their loot. And it actually might be one and only. You could have taken most of their loot, and one and only might try to get involved and try to grab a couple kills on the way out. There's only 2 minutes left on the clock.
Yeah, they're still running up to the north. This is the one that I was talking about originally that we had seen used earlier over in Europe. If I'm one and only, I was kind of trailing behind this squad here on your screen. Not wanting to get too close, right? Because a 3v1, man, that's going to be really tough. But you want to wait till they start activating that exfil and maybe go for a sneak play. But at this point, you just got to preserve your value. Who knows how much we saw that player leave with, but...
Yeah, I was kind of doing some math here. It looks like they actually left with everything. I think IQ got out with all 6.7 mil, if our overlay is correct there. One and only has 0 loot value in terms of things that he did not bring in himself or his teammates brought in themselves. So he is only going for kills and trying to play spoiler. It's the right call. Look how much value this team has. All 3 are up. This is a very tough fight. He needs to go immediately if he's going to take this fight. There's only about a minute left on the clock. But a full team of 3 holding this point with 8.8 mil, even just full killing one and preventing them from extract. I mean, that's a massive value on the leaderboard overall for your team.
And we've seen it come down to less than that, right? Especially earlier today. That 8 million would go so far by the end of 4 games. So one and only, you better be that one and only chance to take that away from them here on our first map of the day over in Brackish. But how are you going to set yourself up to attack this extract area? Which pathway are we looking at?
Yeah, they're 10 seconds. This is just, I mean, they're dropping their bags, and I don't think one and only is going to get out of there in time. Oh, he's going to sneak up on it. Full send. Here we go. The last millisecond. No, not even close. A great effort, though. I mean, running out of time. Needed to move a bit quicker. But that should be everybody out one way or the other, whether you get killed or you were able to extract there in the final seconds. Well set up, well executed for a couple teams. I think 3 of our teams walking away with somewhere around the neighborhood of 6+ million, if not more than that. So I'm looking at the BeegBoeies to be at the top of the leaderboard to start things off. Likely around a total of around 12 million or so all in after their kills. And Tip, I'm going to be honest, that one was an interesting one. It was somewhere in the middle, I think, of the 2 practices we saw in Europe. There was like some slow play, of course, but also a bit of action near the mid game. And frankly, I think the helicopter, the Havoc helicopter, more than anything else, actually played spoiler to a lot of these teams, giving away positions and kind of forcing these odd fights. Nobody was really felt like they were set up in great spots. Let's take a look back on those replays and you can see what I mean. The storyline of this one was get that helicopter out of here. And also, in my mind, the storyline is, man, what could have been for the side of Spades & Co., who had Tower of Babel completely to themselves and elected to get active and get involved, and they got punished for it.
Yeah, I mean, look, I love the risk. It didn't come with the reward this time, but you do still have 3 games to be able to make that come through. But this is that initial fight that we were talking about where FN9, one and only, just full sends inside the room. Spades last standing. And although you get the knock, the clutch comes on through, and that's where you lose everything. But I did enjoy the individual fights we were getting. And then it came down to this push. We said full send it, Goj. We were like, do it. And there's the jump, immediately decimated.
Yeah, what's wild is that actually counted as a kill for that Twisted Mind squad. So they actually ended up picking up another 200k overall value, loot value there at the end because of that single kill. So I'll be very curious to see if that actually even matters on our leaderboard. I mean, we've seen spreads of multiple million, 7 digits differences between teams in terms of total loot value. But who knows? It could come down to the wire, could come down to 200k, and maybe that one kill could be the difference maker. Only time will tell. We've played our very first map of the NA operations here at the Delta Force Global League, all in Season 1. Map 2 right around the corner. We are headed to Space City, where things are certainly going to be different and probably be a bit more aggressive. You're not going to want to miss it. Don't go anywhere. We'll have the scores in just a moment.
Find the terminal.
Your compatibility really impressed me.
Billy de Montbel. Call sign Nox, assault operator. Trained by Havoc, Nox is a seasoned mercenary with rich experience. As a man of few words who prefers to operate independently, his collaboration with GTI is a product of necessity rather than a choice. Specializing in information disruption with proficiency in various combat techniques, he excels in stealth operations. Like a cold dagger, he exposes vulnerabilities in enemy defenses to strike at their throats. Nox's tactical equipment, Silent Assault, consists of an information jammer and sonic jammer. When activated, the disruptors emit sonic interference waves, minimizing Nox's sound propagation and the alert range of enemies. While this interference is in effect, enemy recon tools are unable to pinpoint Nox's exact location.
Allied forces are engaging at objective Bravo.
back. Delta Force Global League Season 1. It is the North America Operations Finals, and we are already one map done and dusted. And I'm going to be honest, that one went by in like a blink of an eye and also felt like an eternity. Such an odd map for these players to try to work around each other, find the right fights, and find the right loot. We had 3 teams come out on top with a sizable amount of loot for the leaderboard. 3 teams that came away with just about nothing to start things off. But that's about par for the course, Tiff, because to be honest with you, every map, somebody's got to be the loser. And in this time, if you go out early, you're going to walk away with maybe a couple 100,000 loot value, which in this tournament is really not all that much.
Yeah, it's really not. And we saw that kind of happen just earlier today. The teams that were only finding loot value from the kills, but weren't able to get extracted upon and really maximize their technic alloy, you know, per se. It was tough for them because we only have 4 games, right? 2 on Brackish, 1 on Space City. Then we kind of move on over to Zero Dam, which we thought people were going to be more comfortable on, but that one was just pure utter chaos. So moving to Space City, which was my favorite of the day thus far, I'm hoping it proves to be the same, because if you had difficulty extracting based on Brackish, gosh, this is worse. Space City is pure chaos when it comes to that.
Well, it's really fun to talk about kind of competitions in the past. And anybody that's played Space City knows that extracting is quite a bit more difficult on Space City. I mean, there's only a couple options, and they're not great, to be frank. They signal the entire map where you are, or they're just really difficult to pull off. And in a custom lobby of this caliber, that's also going to be something that I think people are going to be considering, is how do we get out of here? I'm thinking back to the semifinals. I had a chance to watch those. In the semifinals, there was, I think, 3 teams that fell asleep basically on the map and didn't get out on time. I mean, they just fought each other for the extra loot value at the end, and 3 full teams did not make it out of the map. So that is something to keep in mind, is you've got to keep time on the board for you to get out of this map. But ideally, you're wiping everybody else. So you got plenty of time. You don't have to worry about anything. You got a ton of value. So we'll keep an eye on that. We also know that Space City is going to be hyper aggressive early. Some of these spawn points are very close together. So we oftentimes will see these engagements happen pretty quickly in comparison to what we saw in Brackish.
Yeah, we definitely had multiple squads that ended up around that central command building. So keep tabs on those, because we know they're going to be running for each other. But before we get into game number 2, we have to break down the score from that initial map on Brackish. And it is BeegBoeies. Okay, look, Goj and I went back and forth over the break, and we were like, are they the BeegBoeies? Are they the BeegBoeies? Like, what are we going to call them? Something different every time. But 10.7 mil to kick off our day. I'm impressed, but Twisted Minds not far behind them.
Yeah, exactly. Twisted Minds as a team came out with a little over 8 million. Very well done, also including their kills. But BeegBoeies on top, and I think I'm pretty impressed with both of these teams. Obviously, they were kind of in the right place at the right time and were able to play cleanup. You know, I'm looking at C and Deman as well, and they did a pretty decent job getting some kills early. They were taking some pretty decent fights. Couldn't quite piece it together. The real one that's frustrating, I think, is I'm looking at EBT, and they had such a good start. Again, there was a kind of weird nuanced thing where we're like, oh, they have 8 million just looting up the Tower of Babel. And then they said, okay, we also have perspective. We have the viewpoint to know where all the teams are at, because we're on Ultimate High. They spotted out 3 other teams, and they said, what if we store all of our high value loot in this random bag inside the Tower of Babel and come back to it and hope we win our fights? They go out, they get punished for it, they get eliminated. They actually walk out of the map with 200,000. So a frustrating map for them, I'm sure. But hey, it's the first map of the day. If you're going to go high risk, high reward, might as well do it when you still got runway to take off on. I mean, the plane might be a little delayed and some passengers are going to be a little bit frustrated, but you're going to take off eventually. You still got an opportunity to get out of the airport before everything closes down. So I'll be curious to see if they could do that. Maybe they're taking a spaceship instead on Space City. That could be their map. But I'll keep an eye out for them. Definitely watch out for that team. They're one of the top teams through the semifinals. They were the top team coming into today mathematically on paper based on that semifinal performance. So I'm expecting them to do big things today, and excited to see what they're able to do in Space City. And so, Tiff, I think when we start talking about different loadouts, different weapons, things that are in the meta when it comes to operations, we've seen a modicum of different weapons that people tend to use. And one of the things I noticed from one of our squads with that Killsaw team is that, yes, there's a lot of really good snipers out there that you can use when it comes to operations. We saw the R93, we saw some different sniper options. We were looking for some higher, faster ADS times so that we could, frankly, do the classic 3-2-1 meta. Somebody's out in the open, they both hit, that person's down and fully eliminated before they can even blink an eye. And I like it. I'm a big M700 guy myself, but hey, whatever works for you and your team and the strategies you put into place, apparently it paid off for them. They were able to pick up a couple kills. We'll see if they can maybe clean things up in Space City. So let's talk about it. Space City is next. Tiff, what can you tell me about Space City?
Chaos. It's gonna be chaotic. This is one of the quickest maps of our day that we had witnessed over in Europe, and I'm really hoping it carries the same sentiments forward here. So you mentioned it, a lot of those invils are gonna be incredibly close to each other. We had a ton of fights over on that western gate side of things where it got drawn out. So we had two teams that had actually infilled over on that west side, and then a couple that had been over towards the printing room. One in particular did get the Eastern Suspension Bridge, and they actually doubled down and were basically gatekeeping the exfil from the beginning for 15 minutes, but no one showed up, so they moved on up. So keep eyes on helipad and specifically the test range, the one where you have to drop your backpack. So find those initial fights, deny people the ability to either A, get loot, or B, just retain their gear in general, and then just steal everything and just get out.
I like it. Great strategies from Tiff, and well, you all have played, probably, if you're paying attention to the chat, you probably played a lot of operations, and hopefully you've played a lot of Space City. It's gonna get real nice, real nasty, real quick. Let's hop into the game and see who's engaged with each other quickly. And like we said, off the rip, immediately a fight on our hands spawns near each other. How about right on top of each other? I think BeegBoeies is going to be one of the first people in the engagement yet again. He was our first player eliminated in map 1 and has a chance to either enact revenge or repeat history.
Look, I'm loving it, right? They're already investing that triple blaster. We've got that cooldown because that dragonfly, even though the cooldown was decreased from 120 to 90 seconds with season 4, still takes a while to build on up, and that high ground to low ground disparity might be annoying, but at least Rogue Pringle does know where two members are.
Yeah, and a good pickup here. And I was watching chat during that game. They were like, wait, Ghost doesn't know the PKM rips. I was like, oh no, trust me, I know it rips. But I'm surprised to see more people in North America using it. In Europe, not one person was using it that we saw on main broadcast. And so it is curious to see kind of the differences between the regions, which is one of the big questions that we had asked at the top of the broadcast was, are we going to see some clearing and tried and true differences between two regions running the exact same format, same maps and everything? But a nice pickup, I think a single kill going to the way of BeegBoeies, so not quite a repeat of history there. Instead, able to stay alive and now relocate and figure out where they want to go from here. One kill on the board, though, feels good, and it looks like a double kill coming in from a team on the other side, which means one of our teams is already fully eliminated. Now, I got to get confirmation exactly which squad that was, but wow, what a brutal start to things here in Space City.
You love to see it. Chomping. Running into some issues here, but Rogue Pringle and BeegBoeies are likely going to be okay here, but we talked about that early action that was going to be happening, and the full send on the stairs, jumping in, just gets the best of him. So Rogue Pringle, who had got Chomping back up on their feet, is having to just kind of fall back, but picks up a knock, so at least working on evening things out. The reach out comes in, and Rogue Pringle finds another.
Yeah, and I have gotten confirmation that was Twisted Minds. It was who I thought it was. I didn't want to call it too early. Twisted Minds is out of here. They were in pink in this last one. They got fully eliminated. And now we see another team fully eliminated. That's going to be that IQ squad with FN9, unfortunately, out of here as well. A brutal start for Sia and Deman and Twisted Minds immediately out. And as expected, Space City is coming out hot.
Look, chat, did we not tell you? Did we not tell you this was going to happen? And look at where Equal Plays and Co. are, the BeegBoeies, just kind of working themselves around in between those two exfils we were talking about. So love that we're keeping tabs on that because they've really spread on out where they can watch the helipad. Equal Plays is like, look, I'm going to be back here going. But if I'm Grim Spades in January, this is where I've got to go massive.
Here's a quick look back on that fight. Was able to knock Chomping from distance. It was actually that IQ squad. This is seeing Demon's team that was trying to make this push, trying to play hyper aggressive. And here, the efficacy of the PKM. Welcome to the party. Talk about ripping people down. Rogue Pringle picking up double and maybe even a triple here, making it nice and easy for his team to get a ton of loot early, set themselves up well. And the question is, where do you go from here? What do you do now? And now that you've got a ton of loot value, they're going to continue to loot up some of these boxes and get up to probably around 10 million. Do you try to get out early? Do you try to set up for a kind of mid-game exit rather than trying to play the whole map? Or do you say, hey, we're cooking, let's keep cooking?
Yeah, that's tough. That's that risk that we see people do. And quite frankly, I don't know what's best. You've really got to trust whoever is kind of giving your leadership comms on your team and just kind of go with it. And if something falters, well, then you've got 2 more maps after this to make the best of it.
Let's see where our teams are located. And as expected, again, squad that has 4 kills now and now well over 11 million are getting paid for their early endeavors here. I mean, there's going to be 6 boxes on the ground. They could push that even higher, probably 15, 16 million in total if they are able to fill their bags up correctly. And so if I'm that squad, I mean, we've already seen a mistake of a team that decided to play high risk early. It doesn't matter. I mean, 4 kills is great. 800K is solid, but like, you've already gotten so much value on this map. Set up for an extract ASAP is going to be the safest thing. But hey, they're here to make the bread. They're here to get first place. Who knows what they decide to do. See what Infant Baby and Co are able to do. They definitely know somebody's inside the command center, and they're going to try to peek in, find an angle. 1 entry knock is all they're going to need.
See, Killsall went ahead and made the move from Nox. Hopping on to a new op. Love the change-ups.
Yeah, another interesting, conversation point here while we watch this fight. Slowly set up. Killsall on the other side, trying to find some level playing field to take this fight. And then the other side of that coin, there's Killsall's POV, just trying to find the right angle. Another interesting conversation point is that... Oh, yeah, that's the wrong peek. Can't peek that twice. In EU, I think almost every single team ran a sniper on Space City. And right now, I'm seeing a lot of PKMs.
I'm okay with it. I really am. Did see a ton of M14s, though. That was kind of one of the mainstays, and a lot of the players that we've been talking about were so happy with kind of the ability to use whatever weapon that they found the most comfortable, and depending on the builds, on whatever they needed it for, you could just use a variety of weapons to find success. So keep tabs. Well, I really see Spades up there. That man is just always looking for information. High ground info, W's.
Does that not look familiar? That looks very familiar to Spades up in the window in the Tower of Babel on Brackish. Grim holding a nice peek here. If he's able to find it first. Does find the angle and misses every shot, unfortunately. Just a hair too much bounce on that one. Does have some good info for his team, though. And it looks like I think the squad in question is going to bounce on out of here. And look who's lying in wait. Rogue Pringle trying to play this outside flank and potentially pick up this team in transition. I mean, Pringle has an opportunity to maybe grab another triple if his opponents aren't careful.
Should be worried for Sweet Sassy and Classy at this point, because REC is just crouch walking straight towards them.
Look, Sweet Sassy and Classy basically put up 0 points in 3 games in the semifinals and then dropped an absolute metric banger in the final map. I'm not worried about them. They'll figure it out one way or the other. Right now, they need some points, ideally on paper, but if history's going to repeat itself for this team as well, then hey, they're chilling. They're just going to try to play spoiler to a couple other teams, and then they'll go for broke in the last map and hope it works out.
I love that we're just sitting here, R93 in hand, just kind of constantly checking, but it's Killsall that's out there scouting to see maybe we can find an angle, say, hey, how many is it? What can we tell? What operators are they running? What kind of kits are we going to be looking at? See if you can bait out some shots to get more info.
Yeah, I mean, this is tried and true classic of operations. You really can't push this fight with a, peeker's advantage is usually what we talk about when it comes to playing some of these corners, unless you have some sort of way to break that line of sight or break that entry with, let's just say, Nox, for instance, being able to use a flash, maybe the flash drone from another operator. I mean, there's tons of ways to do it. It's just difficult. So instead, you look for the pick. And that can be with R93. That could be with AM700. That could be with a PKM. It doesn't matter. If they peek the wrong corner at the wrong time, especially with the weapons and ammo that they're using right now, you're done in an instant. And that's going to be the signal flare for your team. to jump on that squad when you've got player advantage. And, well, that'll work. Hey, guess what? Rogue Pringle getting paid yet again by just holding this angle correctly, lying in wait, and not giving any sound cues. This team had no clue Pringle was on the flank, and one player just creeps out to sniff the air. Unfortunately, he's going to be sniffing his way back to the lobby here shortly if he's not careful.
And you have to realize the team that's making this approach, right? REC in blue, have 11.2 million in loot value that they've already acquired, plus 5 kills. Like, this is a phenomenal map for them already. So if you basically are sweet, sassy, and classy, if you could take them down here, sure, it's now a 2v3. You have really no information alongside other than Rogue Pringle is lurking likely behind that container where Killzall is, because he's going to be saying, hey, look, he's literally nearby, but they're not giving you much else.
Yeah, you know, it's an interesting point because I think, you know, one of the things we talk about a lot in these types of fights, because this fight could take another 8 minutes at least if they go slow enough. And I think Infant Baby and High are maybe going to get a little impatient and try to find a way to maybe frag out Rogue Pringle on the right-hand side. We got to keep eyes on this fight. It's really important. You still see January, Grim, Spades lurking around the corner. They could get involved in this fight if they want to. Might be a little bit tough, but it is possible. But the thing about this fight is, like, based on the operators you have, kind of limits your options. Like, obviously, a Luna, helpful, might pick up some information of where everybody's at. Where's the entire team at? You know where Rogue Pringle is. You know that BeegBoeies is behind that crate. You know that Chompin's playing the cross. Looks like Pringle's coming out of cover, but if you're using somebody like a Luru, maybe, for instance, and had a missile you could throw out that you could see through, I mean, talk about information gathering tools. There's more ways to gather information than just playing Luna.
I feel like that move up is happening. Who's going to peek first? Who's going to connect? And it's Rogue Pringle just hitting the pre-fire, already getting the initial damage, but the pop down from the top is what you've got to be cautious of. And it's BeegBoeies that falls, and Rogue Pringle doesn't even look to the right. That is a miscomm if I've ever seen one.
Wait a minute. How did Infant Baby, I think, just jumped over the top of Rogue Pringle and shot BeegBoeies because the first person in view, chomping on the far side, and totally missed Pringle. And Pringle didn't know he was there either, but teammates on top. This team on top, after a frustrating start for BeegBoeies, I mean, this team is crushing it. They not only have 7 kills, which is 1.4 mil, they're going to have easy 20 mil in hand, if not a hair more than that, with 2 other teams on the map nowhere close in terms of loot, and frankly, not even that close in terms of taking this fight. Now, they're not in a great position. They're not in a position to exfil right away, but now's the time, gentlemen. Loot all these boxes and then get out of this map as soon as possible. Tip, we have 3 teams left with 17.5 minutes on the clock. This is Space City if I've ever seen it.
Yeah, this is kind of wild. We have EBT, REC, and BeegBoeies. So the majority of the teams that are left on this are all from Alpha Group, your first through third places. We get to dive into the replay. There's Infant Baby B. Pops on down, catches BeegBoeies, and then gets traded out after Royal Pringle figures out. Oh, he just jumped over my face and tried to hit a 360, maybe trick shot my homie. Like, what?
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't as egregious of a fight as I thought it was. Obviously, you didn't see Rogue Pringle shooting at you yet. You had to take care of the person that was shooting at you. I thought he had fully vaulted over Rogue Pringle and didn't see him there, but that wasn't the case. He was just in a really tough fight, outnumbered. So a great effort regardless, but we're going to see that squad definitely in another map, potentially having a better one. And this is the other team that was at the top of the leaderboard after map 1, Wasabi, now just holding this cross and trying to figure out where to go next from the bridge. I don't mind the spot. Obviously, we've seen teams in Europe hold this point because there's an exfil position over there behind them. And so they're just going to wait it out here for a while, most likely. And I don't think anybody's moving anytime soon.
Especially this squad right here on your screen. Like, we were curious. Hey, you know that they're very aware of engagements that were happening nearby them, but they didn't get involved, which is okay, right? Play that long game. We've seen it happen. Oftentimes, you're just still looking for information, maybe saying, hey, look, if we let them do all the work and then we play spoiler, that still nets us the same loot value that we need to progress upon the leaderboard.
Yeah, I mean, patience is definitely a virtue. And you got to remember, I mean, I keep wanting to call us back to this because you look at somebody like Rogue Pringle's team with Champa and BeegBoeies, and you're like, wow, they are crushing it right now, doing a great job. And that's absolutely the case. But if Spades, Jan, and Grim make a play here and wipe that team, the best that BeegBoeies and co are going to get out with is their 7 kills, which is going to net 1.4 mil. Like, it's a lot, it's solid, but it's not a ton in comparison to what you're usually seeing the top teams and top players net on, obviously, a successful extract. So, you know, the onus responsibility for anybody to be anywhere close on this leaderboard to the team that's down below near the river, honestly, that burden falls on January and team. And then now the big question, Tiff, is that I posit to you is like, where does this Chompin squad, where do they extract to? Where do they exfil from that's not being held right now?
That was one of the biggest issues we saw just in general when it came to grand finals, was getting to the extracts, because we know that there are people still on the map. And of course, based on what you've seen and kind of who you've come across, you can deduct that you've taken down 7 players, right? So you've got 2.5 teams at that point worth of kills. So knowing that and knowing how much you've played this game, that there's still a possible chance that someone is camping out over by helipad. So do we wait with 5 minutes to go and then full send? Or do you want to start kind of soft launching towards that area? Because of course, helipad, you got to trigger it, right? It's going to notify everyone. You got to flip the levers and wait the timer out. And it's kind of a nuisance, right? But if you take the other one just on the back of, you have to drop your backpack and you want the majority of it. So
yeah,
that's tough.
I mean, we saw that obviously in Brackish too, of, you know, the no bag exfil is just part of the game. And frankly, you can get a ton of loot out of this map without your backpack, given the fact that you're wiping teams. And so that is something to keep in mind. Just replacing your weapons, your armor, and everything in between with some opponents that you're able to take down, you're still going to get a lot. But yeah, this is going to be a very interesting finish. You can see obviously a couple levers can be pulled like you were just talking about. But where are you going to extract from? Right in front of Wasabi's barrel. So good luck with that. Looks like our teams are taking a look at each other, potentially with some information.
I just love the layout here. And you have to do this all knowing that Grim, Spades, and January have nothing to lose at this point and everything to gain. Like, that makes them that much more scary, because for REC, this is a phenomenal performance from them. BeegBoeies in the semis, 7 kills total throughout all of the games. And right now, just based on this one map of Space City, the entire team has acquired 7 kills, over half of what they did alone throughout the multiple games in the semis.
Yeah, no, that's 100% right. It's the exact same format in the semis too. I mean, this is a great map for them, and they got to capitalize on it. I mean, this could literally make or break their tournament. Starting out here with, you know, 18 mil or so in map 2 changes the way you have to play these next 2 maps too. I mean, and that's the thing to keep remembering, is that, like, if you have some room to work, I mean, we got a team that's got nothing to lose. Obviously, Jan and Spades, we're going to look at this squad, but talk about nothing to lose in the second 2 maps. I mean, you really don't have to put up crazy numbers to maintain a lead if you can put up a map this big in map number 2. So 2 sides of the same coin. We'll see what they decide to do. You know, like Rogue Pringle and co are going to try to swing up onto this team. They know there's a team here. They saw this team earlier. Just a matter of where are they. Is Spade's going to be the first one to take a look at Rogue Pringle here? Quite possible. And
it tracks.
Yeah, this is
it tracks.
A little bit more of what I was expecting to see. And, oh my, yeah, spotted him out in the open and took the pot shot. Didn't quite get the knock. Really needed that knock to land to make a difference. And it does look like, actually, I think Jan maybe had an angle over the top and was able to knock one of the players on the other side. It's Chompin, I believe, down. They've got power position. Tip, this could be a massive throw and a huge boon for the side of Spades, Jan, and Grim.
Okay, well, I mean, look, if you're going to use the Dragonfly and really whittle down on the visual, on the health, everything, this allows you to cover the distance, and there's the assist kill coming in on Rogue Pringle, so making it that 3v2.
Yeah, that was...
Still not overcommitting, though. Like, we are taking this with all of the calmness. But look what they've done. They full ran.
I was about to say, I would run. I mean, I would get the heck out of there. I don't think you're ever winning that fight. Not with the positioning, Jan up top, getting information, being able to play Overwatch, and able to clean up the angle. I think they just didn't know exactly where Spades and Co were. They didn't have the info. And it was obvious. I thought they had spotted each other early, and they knew somebody was in the area. But it was so obvious when you saw, I want to say it was Grim down here, just kind of looking around, trying to find the right angles, and then all of a sudden go, oh, shoot, wait, there's somebody right there. And all of a sudden, all hell broke loose. So a great kill, obviously, some extra points to their score, and they should be able to get that box as well, which will probably have sizable amount of loot in it. You can see quite a dramatic dip, actually. Look at that. In the blue, that's going to be the squad we were just talking about with Pringle. 9.4 mil now, down from, I think, 15 mil. So there's about at least 6 mil not with the loot counting from the body that was actually his to start. So if he kept any of his own loot, that is a very rich body if they're able to get to it. And they're just going to try to clear all of their angles and make sure they don't get picked up while trying to loot. As it looks like BeegBoeies and Co are not fully out of this engagement, just trying to take it from a different angle.
Yeah, they definitely are working their way back, which is, I get it, right? If we can get our homie back and preserve some of the loot quality before they're able to get there and kind of pilfer for the hands of EBT, understandable. But the way that they've been situating and keeping their sights going and moving, they're not going to want to give that up. But if you remind yourself, this is exactly where REC came from. This is the same path they took before wrapping in and taking down Sweet, Sassy, and Classy, and then kind of roaming up to the Central Command building. So we are just going back the same way we showed up.
Yeah, and I think they can hear some footsteps. This is just shooting fish in a barrel at this point. We need some heroic plays from Chompin and BeegBoeies, and it's not looking good. They've got information. They got the Luna arrow that connects. You can see it pinged. This is going to be such... I mean, basically right now, the hope, if you're a fan of Jan, Spades, and Grim, is that they just don't sell this fight. This isn't a tough one, but you can make it tough on yourself if you get picked here. You've got to be careful. Play your trades. Play as a team. Wasabi squad nowhere in sight, and Grim is able to grab a knock on Chomp, and this is just a matter of time. 3v1. BeegBoeies would have to do something out of this world, and it might be Space City, but I don't think he's taken off out of here. He's not catching a rocket. He is gone. What a frustrating map for that team, and I guess that's the efficacy of D-Wolf, huh? I think we were asking that question. Triple blaster, blow somebody out of cover. Tiff, that was a bummer for a team that had so much value, and all of a sudden, the team on your screen just played cleanup.
And as we see that come through at one point, what was it, 15, 16 mil? So congratulations to EBT for netting themselves some very high value. Now, granted, at least REC did have 7 kills, so they're going to have 1.4 mil alone from that, but they're still not done yet. EBT will now have to hit an exfil and be okay and secure everything that they've got here.
Yeah, and this is, you know, it becomes a looting simulator because we know there's only one other team on the map, and they're nowhere to be found. They're all the way on the other side of the map, by the river, over by the other extract. And so now it's just about optimizing what you take. Obviously, you're going to want to swap everything that you own with something else from somebody else because that's how you maximize your value. Everybody knows that. And so they're going to be filling up their bags for a while. As you can see, both these teams on opposite sides of the map. Mandelbrick here, during the semifinals, we did see a team play around a Mandelbrick, using it for a bit of information because it does kind of warn you if a team's getting close. So I don't hate the idea, but not right now. Not when there's only 2 teams remaining. Just a fun little nuance thing here in Customs as we are looting for days, Tiff, because there are not only 3 bodies to loot, but 3 bodies that had already looted 5 other bodies, maybe 6 other bodies. And this is about to be the biggest game we've ever seen in the course of semifinals and now.
If they can get out with it.
Yeah.
That is my biggest question, because look who's still on the map. It's BeegBoeies over there lurking by the exfils. Now, if everything goes par for the course and they turn around and take all of this that has just been kind of getting siphoned through all of our different squads here on Space City, that would be God, I'm telling you, this is like one of the biggest journeys we've ever seen. So many twists and turns, what's going to happen. But I love that we got to see them loot quite a bit, because something that was interesting before EBT came into this map, they were talking about just the number of ammo stacks in particular that they should bring into some of these games, because you know how much value is in those ammo stacks alone. And if something happens to them, they're just kind of basically just turning that straight on over to the opposing teams to get out with.
Yeah, I mean, you can see, I mean, they're still, I think, racking up some loot, but 20 million and 3 kills? Yeah, that'll do. That's about the scoreline we saw from Sweet, Sassy, and Classy in the last round of the semifinals. That allowed them to qualify today. To be able to get that in map 2, again, it's the exact same point I said before. You can just play patient, play very low risk, just try to get a couple million in the next 2 maps, and you're likely going to be at the top of the leaderboard. And looks like, Tiff, as you expected, the helicopter extract has been activated.
Let's see what big boys are going to do about it. I'm just going to sit here, wait. Just under 5 minutes on the clock for that one. And this is where we look at equal plays on Nox. Maybe we see some silent assaults come through. Nicholas on that Stinger. And then we have Wasabi locked in on the Luna for some more information, thanks to the recon arrow. But you have to be patient. You have to play to perfection. And we know that the only other team left with the massive 20+ mil loot is EBT. And they waited for north of 20 minutes before even engaging for their first fight.
Yeah, here we go. This is going to be an interesting one. Keep an eye on that clock on the left-hand side. 4 minutes, 20 seconds and counting. A big moment for both of these teams. They both got to get out. Here's the thing, though. Again, you had just kind of called it out. Your opposition, Wasabi's team, they've been here since the very beginning. I mean, they haven't moved a muscle in this entire map. And sometimes that's what it takes to win. If somebody goes and does all the dirty work for you, whether it's Pringle or whether it's a team on your screen, they get all the loot, they stack it up for you, and then they run straight at you and give you their lives. I mean, hey, it's a good strategy, and it probably is going to pay off. I don't know how they're going to break through this setup from Wasabi and Nick in equal plays. This is going to be a tough one, Tiff. And frankly, I'm a little bit dismayed because it was a great setup by Spades and Co. to catch out another team that had just done all the dirty work. It's almost this passing of a baton to say, hey, you guys get the win. Nope, you get the win. Well, actually, maybe Wasabi's team's going to get the win.
It's a relay race, basically. But it's not on the same team. But I love that we're already sending utility out. So Wasabi going to answer back with an arrow and hopefully get spotted out. Yes, they lock on to Spades here. Now, at least we've got an ideal of 1, but less than 3 minutes to go.
This is tough. I don't even know. I mean, I'm trying to think of what they can even do at this point. And I think really the only option is try to make a play. I mean, they could try to... I don't even think they're running a Stinger, so I don't even think they could try to smoke run at this bridge. I don't even know if they know what to do yet. And I think one of the things you could do is obviously... It's a clock conversation, right? Like, you guys could kind of play chicken around this extract. But the problem with that is one team has everything to lose and one team has absolutely nothing. If it's truly going to be a game of chicken, Wasabi's team can just stand there and say, we're not going to give this away. We're not going anywhere. We might try to leave it the final actual second on that clock, but that's it. We're not extracting 120. You get 1 kill, you get more than 124k, which is their current loot value.
You're not wrong. You see it taken down. Just over 1:30. The way I look at it, we got a toxic online for EBT. You have blinding gas. Will that be enough? Maybe you can isolate it to connect, and you do have Dragonfly, which will give, brief hearing and vision impairment on the opposing team, but that's saying that you connect it within that 60 meters, right? So very perfect equation here. But do you see the positioning on equal plays? They've already moved on up, are prone and just trying to be cheeky about it, whereas Spades has gotten out of the bush, reunited with the homies of EBT, and is just trying to figure out what this is going to look like for them. Immediately, a smoke here, a regain, but even this feels quite open, especially if they don't know where equal plays is yet.
Yeah, as much as I want to try to break down this situation, it's kind of a wait and see and keep an eye on the clock. I mean, we are running out of time yesterday. This is going to be a close one, and I think nobody's going to win in this instance, which is best case scenario. It looks like Spades does find an angle on one. Equal plays down below, like you had mentioned, a little bit lower. If they can get a pick here, maybe they've got an opportunity. 40 seconds on the clock. If it's going to get real chaotic real quick, if neither of these teams make it out with anything besides a couple kills, this is a huge boon for our squad that already picked up 7. After all the work, Pringle might come out on top of this one, not even in the lobby. But here we go. Here's the angle, and Wasabi can't hit anything. The broadside of the barn wide open, and luckily, teammate has a better angle on it. Down goes 1, down goes 2, down goes 3. No, 1 got out. Take a look at that. Sprinted to the extract at the final second. 1 player gets out, and I want to say it's around 6.4 mil that they were able to extract with. Barely making it into the zone. I thought they had the angles, but I think it might have been Wasabi's missed shots that actually allowed one of the 3 players to make it out. I didn't see which one it was. 6.4. Hey, not bad with a couple kills. We'll take that. Could have been a totally... I mean, it could have been like horrible for everybody. It could have been Pringle on top, and they died 20 minutes ago.
That was scary. That really was. And that's very similar to what we saw happen on Brackish in particular for our last map of the day across the pond, right? We had a lot of these engagements that were happening within 30 seconds, and we saw some people miss that. So, of course, BeegBoeies not making it out on an exfil, it'll hurt, right? Sure, you pick up a couple points there for a kill or 2, but that is not going to go the distance. But the fact that EBT does get out with 1 player, can we just like back on up and start breaking down what actually happened there? Because at least D-Wolf had some smoke grenades, and they were trying to chain the cooldowns together to get closer towards that exfil. The damage initially on equal plays to force him back as we run through some of our replays on the map. We'll catch up on the ending there because they were trying to use multiple resources, the dragonflies, the smokes, the blinding gas, everything they could.
Yeah, I'd be curious to see the replay on it, but here's a quick look at the start of this map. It was another doozy. I mean, this was a bloodbath to start as expected. A ton of exchanging blows. And within the first 2 minutes or so, we had a full team wipe and another one in trouble. And here's that next team fight that came through is IQ Squad. After a team wipe of their own that they were able to secure, fall to the hand of the PKM and Rogue Pringle. I mean, Pringle goes huge on main here, just holding the sight lines and absolutely ripping through a team. So it was Rogue Pringle and Beerus in Champion that I thought really was going to get the better of everybody, especially because of plays like this. They snuck up to the side, took out 1, had player advantage, and were so patient with this fight. 1 obviously leaping over the top in a little bit of a cell there. Luckily, Pringle able to clean up. High tries to get involved, thinking they're going for the revive, and gets cleaned up as well. So we've got 3 teams fully eliminated in the first 15 minutes or so. And then this is a look back on this fight where we're like, okay, how do you even take this fight? And we didn't see that Spades had an angle over top and was able to win that fight, push Beerus out, swing them down below, and get the cleanup. And so then from here, after this team wipe, finally, slowly but surely, shooting fish in a barrel, they're able to get a team wipe on the team at the top. They become the team at the top. They become the most valuable team on the map. And then here's a look at it. I think it was Spades that makes it. Yes, able to sprint in, hide behind the crate there, and able to make it out. Wasabi didn't see him sneak through, like you had mentioned, because of those smokes. So very well done to get out of there. I want to say about 6.4 on the extraction, potentially. But I don't know. I'm really pumped to see this leaderboard. What we thought was going to be an absolute metric banger of around like 22 mil turns into a decent game after all of that. Tim, what did you think about Space City? Give me some final thoughts on that map. I know we were so excited about it.
I told you, it's always one of my favorites. I don't know why, it just plays so interestingly when it comes to competitive. So more of that, please. But to net yourself north of 6 mil and you call it like a decent game, yeah, you know why it's brilliant is because think of all the amount of loot value that we denied from the multiple squads that it took to achieve all of that still didn't even get a chance to exfil, and most of them are only going to walk away with the amounts that they got for the kills. 1.4 mil for 7 kills. I mean, still not bad, but definitely not north of 6 mil.
Well, what could have been a banger, it was a banger from a viewership standpoint. I had a lot of fun watching that map. Folks, we're going to head to a very short break here in the booth. When we come back, it's going to be map number 3. We are headed to Zero Dam. Expect some more fights. Don't go anywhere.
Man's fear of darkness is imprinted in our genes. In the absence of light, we become prey, hunted by nameless dangers and unknown fears.
Where do you think Havoc's boss went?
Dead, probably.
Then who's paying their soldiers? Who's there?
We try to seek solace by the faint light of fire.
Where is that noise from?
But a deal was made with the dark. And the darkness became a weapon. There's no waiting for the protection of dawn. A winner must be crowned tonight.
Hostiles detected.
Welcome back to the Delta Force Global League Season 1, and of course this is North America's Operations Finals. We were having a ton of fun watching all the action on Space City, and I'm excited to take a look at the scores and see where they all landed, because there was some critical moments in the final milliseconds of that map to allow for one team, I believe, to come out on top just barely over the others. One of the only teams that actually got out of the map. So let's take a look at them and see where they're at. Spades, congratulations, my friend. You're able to make it out. And as such, 6.6 mil as expected will put them at the top of the leaderboard pretty dramatically just from game 2. So you all can start doing the mental gymnastics of where will they land in the overall halfway through this tourney. But a heroic effort there from Spades. really strong patience, and then a great push there through the smoke, Tiff. It really did pay off. I mean, consider the fact that Spades would have only gotten 200k there. It would have been a obviously dramatic shift of our leaderboard, but also would have put REC as the top team from that map, having fallen about halfway through that map.
Yeah, it's just actually wild, and Rogue Pringle does walk away with at least with 5 kills. Now, granted, in the semis, 4. So we've already bested that in one singular game. A massive performance for them. But imagine if they would have been able to exfil with their 10+ million in value. And then you have to look at it, the squad in 4th on the leaderboard, Big Boys, if they would have been able to thwart out EBT's performance and Spades doesn't get out, this is completely different. But I do love that we are still managed to preserve 6.6 million in equal plays, was able to grab 2. But what does this do for the overall, Ghosh?
Yeah. Sorry about that. I didn't hear you keep going. I wanted to take a look at this overall because, yeah, it's really dang close and frankly low comparatively to EU and everything that we saw over there. Very, very close in the middle. A nice, still sizable lead for the Big Boys, but the gap has dramatically lessened because of, well, Twisted Minds wasn't able to do much on that. C and Deman was not able to do much on that, but EBT's now in the mix because of Spades in the final moment. So this true, I mean, 3 million is, it's not nothing, but it is not a whole lot compared to in a comparison to what these teams are able to do. Even if they just get a kill or 2, they're going to be able to surmount that amount of gap. So this truly does feel like the second half of this tournament is going to be a brand new event that's basically an even playing field. The small exception to that rule, unfortunately, is Sweet, Sassy, and Classy. But Tiff, I've got to remind you, I've got to remind the viewers, and everybody at home that didn't see the semifinals, that team basically was in the exact same spot going into the very last map of the day, and then dropped a 20-some-odd million game to put them up into the money and into the finals. So we'll see if they're able to replicate the exact same thing in the finals as we move into Zero Dam, Tiff.
Yeah, it would be really cool if they were going to be able to do that. So keep tabs on them. But for Big Boys, they've been playing a lot of the same progressive. There you go. See, in Brackish, they exfil with 10.7 mil. EBT does get 7 mil. The thing is, this is much lower than some of the score lines that we were seeing earlier in the day on average. So this is going to keep everyone super close and allow for a massive game here on Zero Dam.
Yeah, Zero Dam is such a fun one. We talked about this during EU. I want to bring it back up. And this is the kind of, not nostalgia because you can go play the map right now, but this is where everybody started. This is our first experience in operations in Delta Force, so I'm excited to see it in a competitive main stage. And frankly, I'm excited to see where these players spawn in on. We know all the spawns, and some of these spawns are going to get real mixy really quick, similar to Space City. Or you might spawn all the way across the map and be alone for a while if you're the only team, for instance, around Visitor Center and everybody else is on the western side of Zero Dam. We'll see where everybody lands. In EU, the main fight was in Cement Plant for basically the entirety of the map. See if that's replicated or something new comes to the horizon. Maybe a team has the entirety of admin by themselves yet again. Only time will tell. I think our lobby's about to get started. We'll see what these teams are able to do to jump up this leaderboard and try to take the grand prize. $1,500 for your team. I'm pumped to see what they're able to do, Tiff. Do you expect any big differences in terms of weapons, operators, or anything when it comes to Zero Dam? I'm not thinking that I do. I think everybody's pretty comfortable with where they're at. Just curious where your head's at based on Zero Dam being a lot smaller.
I think you're going to stick with what you feel comfortable with. Maybe you see some Virons changed out so you can kind of dash around. It's hard to say, but this is where we started people actually focusing on getting out and maybe not taking a fight, right? It's, hey, maybe one fight, I feel confident, I've got 5 to 7 million, I'm gonna go ahead and get on out of here, because you're starting to value your presence on that leaderboard. And with how close they are, it's only a matter of time. And oh wow, I say Viron, and hello Grim, thank you so much for dropping in here.
Yeah, no, I mean, honestly, I'm a big Viron fan. It's usually what I run, especially in Zero Dam. If you're playing around admin, being able to boost around the corners to take some of those fights, if you got an SMG or otherwise, a great way to earn some easy kills in my mind, catch some folks unaware. But these players are all super cracked, so maybe it's not going to feel like pubs. I don't think everybody's sprinting at Mach 10 all the way to admin right now. So we'll be curious to see what the strategy is going to be. But as we take a look kind of where some of our teams are at, of course, we're going to keep our eyes on this team. But technically, Big Boys are our leader right now by a couple million. So definitely want to keep eyes on where they're at, where they decide to kind of rotate to, who's going to go for, maybe it's Cement or maybe it's admin. But right now, you can see Pringle on your screen there. Again, I believe in the light blue, so similar color as last time. They're going to be up, I think they started in just to the south side, I want to say, of Cement and have moved up into it.
definitely good for getting a lay of the land here. So EBT there on the left-hand side of things, Chompin, Ibris, Rogue Pringle, the fight that just keeps giving, all on the western side of REC over there in the light blue. You've got BeegBoeies that are in relatively towards that center side of things, and keep tabs on them. And obviously CN Deman over all the way in Visitor Center. So some easy access to a couple pieces of loot that they're going to feel like, okay, cool, maybe it's something, right? But we're seeing the majority of the value come from engagements themselves.
Yeah, I was really interested to see. Again, this team has 0 points right now. Let me be very clear. And I'm still not worried. Cool, Classy, Sassy, they're ready to go. They've got admin fully unlocked. This is going to be a little bit more familiar based on what we saw. I believe it was Spades' team do in the first map in Brackish, okay? So basically, they've got the highest value loot area almost completely to themselves, at least for now. They can loot up and actually loot up more traditional operation style and see if they get any great loot. If they do or if they don't, doesn't change the strategy too much. They still want to take some fights, and I'll be curious to see who pushes to admin, if anyone. And I wanted to correct what I said before. It did look like Rogue Pringle team, they actually did spawn in barracks and have been up in barracks this entire time thus far. It was that RDG squad just to the south of Cement Plant who are kind of looking for those spawns before they full commit into Cement, thinking there might be a team in the area.
It's pretty much on par for what we saw earlier for the day, right? A lot of the people did kind of collapse in Cement Plant, and the infills were around this area. So making sure that these three teams are just kind of getting situated, finding some information that they've got on the rest of the teams that are neighboring them, that's all you've got to worry about. For the other teams that started on that eastern side over by Visitors, they pretty much just went through, grabbed a couple safes, and then started rotating on that mid map. But honestly, where BeegBoeies have started to position themselves is going to be at that exfil, relatively centered. Do they make another crazy play that is akin to what we've been witnessing from them? It didn't necessarily pan out the best for them in Space City, but you think about what happened in Brackish, right? A 10 mil extra.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's an interesting strategy. I mean, Wasabi's team obviously camping some of these exfils. Nobody's going to try to extract right now, so it's not that they're going to sit here the entire time. But it also has pretty good sight lines all the way across to where Spades is at, and then just to the kind of east side of that into Cement to see if they can just pick up some info is really what they're fishing for right now. And if they sit here at the bottom of the map on this exfil for the next 20 minutes, I don't know what I'll do, but I don't think they're going to get paid for it. Sure, they could pick up a team that decides to rotate here at the end game, and maybe they will sit here. I mean, you certainly will get paid if you pick up a team who does all the dirty work for you, and then you just take their loot and run on a free kill. But they're going to be there for quite some time. I think our first interaction probably is going to be Pringle and January's teams potentially interacting there through the tunnels if either side decides to actually move and gets impatient. But for now, it's just an information gathering moment. Listen for shots, see if you can get any intel, and then decide what you want to do from here. It doesn't look like this team, RDG, Lups, Twisted Minds, they have no intentions of moving anytime soon either. This is a standoff from all of our teams with 19.5 minutes on the clock.
So we start fighting at 10. That's what happens. Maybe someone looks to open things up. I know that I've seen a ton of clips out of Rogue Pringle when it comes to Zero Dam, more specifically around that Cement Plant area. So I want to see more of that here on the main broadcast in the Delta Force Global League. That would be super sick, but we do see them kind of backing further away from that initial EBT roster as we kind of come back on over here to Wasabi, Equal Plays, BeegBoeies, making sure that they've got whatever it takes to boost their stamina, boost the adrenaline, whatever it takes, but no one's nearby them yet.
Yeah, this is, hey, whatever it takes. Money on the line. Camp the extract the south side of the map and hope somebody rotates to you. I mean, eventually, probably somebody will. You probably get paid. And on the other side, yeah, I think you mentioned it. IQ up there in Visitor Center. They're going to be hanging out there for a while. There's an extract up there, obviously, most of the time. I believe there is today as well in this map. And so, yeah, looking really strong here. So, I'm thinking that the Grimjan and Spades team will interact with the team over in Barracks, which is going to be Pringle, first. I think that's going to be our first fight. But it also comes down to whether or not our team in admin decides to rotate out and try to get mixy with some other squads. We're just going to kind of play Dam Extract. I don't know. We'll see.
That we will see, but it's a lot of scouting, separating out, looking for information. I mean, we found minimal value, but we really haven't gone anywhere, so I get it.
Ooh, hey, guess what? Wasabi's crew, they're moving. They're looking for a fight. Speaking of ratting out, we got RDG. They've been prone basically on spawn here on the outside of cement. Watch out for the two green colors about to fight each other. I might be wrong in what I thought could be the first engagement. I think we could see our team that didn't move the entirety of Space City on the move get punished for it. I think next map they might go back to camping extracts. We'll see. But that is the team to beat. So Twisted Minds, albeit ratting behind some boxes, I mean, they've got info. They see some folks. Are we going to take these shots through the boxes? No way. I mean, they could 3-2-1-1 down and have player advantage, maybe? I don't think SNK is going to take these shots.
It would be wild, but keep eyes on lips here. I'm okay with it. I really am, but you don't want to give the position away just yet. That has to be right, and tee up the resources, make sure you've got the follow-up, at least RDG there on the D-Wolf has the triple blaster in case there's a line of sight that's not able to be shot from. You can follow it up with that, but you have to realize that with that squad, Big Boys, and how much they've done for themselves on the leaderboard, having a dud here would be detrimental.
Yeah, no, that's a really good shout. Again, this is map number 3. Like, we still got one more map after this, but if you drop another goose egg, regardless where you're on the leaderboard, you might be jeopardizing your chance for a sizable amount of cash. Patience is yet again a virtue. And trigger discipline is extremely important. A waiting game at its finest. I feel like I'm on an episode of National Geographic, and I am commentating a few birds, trying to figure out which flowers they're going to use for their nests.
Birds and flowers, noted.
Yeah, I mean, we've got some great fauna here on Zero Dam, and frankly, some alligators around.
Sure.
Not sure technically it's Larry. You can find Larry in Brackish. He got shot, though, so that's, you know, the circle of life, as it were. Speaking of the circle of life, equal place, making a mistake and getting punished for it. Out in the open, looking for info. 1, 2, 3, see you later. Hey, look, you might be a PKM fan. How about the M250? This thing's been good for a long time. And they're able to pick up 2 in transition. I don't know where they were transitioning to. But as much as I wanted to keep talking about National Geographic, the circle of life has come back to bite Wasabi & Co. as they are in deep trouble and only Wasabi's on their feet.
It's really unfortunate. I mean, Equal Plays, I know, does like to open things up and take these off angles. And we saw that happen in Space City, right? Was prone in a bush, get sussed out, and was the initial reason that turned it around and found 2 kills onto EBT from that. Well, if you're going to have someone that is completely silent, waits for that moment, going for some recon here.
The key here, Tiv, is they cannot trade. They have to get a full kill in. Well, I spoke a little bit too soon. Now, he is in cover, so it should be okay. They should be able to get that revive, no problem, get the rescue. They cannot trade a full life here, though.
He's just waiting for Wasabi's shoulder to throw out, but RDG invest some of the triple blaster here. That's what you do when you have to feed it behind something. But this is the thing that I'm worried about, Ghosh, is that EBT has been there this whole time. January had an angle on this area. They've already made the call, and look who's got Wasabi in their sights. Yeah, that's a third party if I've ever seen one, and a wipe for the big boys.
Look, in FPS times, we talk about the route man getting paid. Sometimes the trash man makes bank. I mean, it's perfect execution, the third party, and it looks like it might be more than third party. No, it's actually just January playing the far flank to third party, the first original team that was taking the first shots. We've lost one. SNK is out of here. Twisted Minds is on their heels, and it's entirely on the back foot because of January's push from the other side. So they get double paid in that fight. Very well executed, and it's a simple strategy, but it works 90% of the time. if you're the third party to the fight, you usually get paid for it.
And Rogue Pringle's just like, hey, what's going on over here, guys? We've heard some noise. We want to get involved. So REC making their way. At least we have the Luna. You've got the detection arrow. You've got the Volt arrow up. And do we even want to send utility out? Or is this one of those moments where you're just like, I'm just going to go rogue, send myself out ahead of my squad, and maybe see if I can stack numbers in my favor. So keep an eye on Rogue Pringle there on the left in the light blue, and Spades in the orange just ahead of them.
Yeah, third party. How about a fourth party? Let's bring the whole crew here. I think we could have a 6-man party here in a second. And now, you definitely don't want to shoot yet. I don't think Grim and Co know that you're here yet. Or at least, if they know you're around, they don't know exactly where. Because there was an angle there for Pringle to take one out, maybe, but it was a bit risky. And his team's trying to get into position.
I saw the light blue at the top, and they're definitely playing for January.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. I think that flank coming in from his team, Rogue Pringle's just trying to play the cross and help out his team. It's actually chomping, covering their backside, thinking there's a team that's going to push over, I guess, from barracks, potentially, from admin. But it's actually Infant Baby and Co. Sweet, Sassy, Classy, 0 points on the leaderboard. I asked for a fifth party. I didn't think it would be this soon. They're running through cement plants, so Chompin, not seeing anything, is going to rejoin his crew. Well, it started out as National Geographic's about to turn into, well, yeah, I guess another side of National Geographic, an absolute slaughterfest. The circle of life is about to come for us all, with 5 teams about to engage. The only team that's not here is, well, one team that's fully wiped, I suppose. 4 teams about to engage now. And the other team, IQ Squad, way off in Visitor Center, just singing lullabies to each other.
Hope they're good songs. Hope they manifest in loot value. Nah, they'll get involved later. I have no fear. We're sitting at the 11-minute mark. All is well here. Except for RDG and Lubs, down to a duo. When you've got a couple teams setting up to make a play on you and then have that happen to them. Like, I'm nervous for them at this point because it's going to be one of those domino effects. Spades may have just heard a member of REC turns his back, and RDG uses this moment to capitalize on it.
The signal flare is up. The blood is in the water. Everybody knows it's about to get real weird real quick. A nice sizable setup here from Chompin & Co. You can see Rogue Pringle on the other side. They do have a solo, and if this other team catches wind of that, they could swing on Chompin, and I think that's what's happening right now. Chompin in trouble. BeegBoeies and Pringle playing together, kind of saying, Chompin, good luck, dude. You got it. They can kind of play Overwatch, but not really. They're worried about getting shot in their back right now. And because of that, Chompin goes down. They're going to lose one, and now we've got a couple teams on 2 players.
That is wild because, I mean, they made the call out. Leave Chompin back, watch the flank. Sweet, Sassy, and Classy has definitely moved in. So now you have this 3v2. And they're kind of stalemated. They don't want to push forward and look for some of those kills that they were working towards.
It's good patience from our team in white. That's Sweet, Sassy, and Classy. I mean, again, they're looking for anything they can get their hands on. I think they were the ones, obviously, that picked up Chompin, so that's at least a kill on their tally here once Chompin bleeds out. It's at least 200k. They're at least on the board. They at least have points no matter how this fight shakes out. But they've got player advantage. If they play this correctly, they could be the ultimate trashman, I guess.
There's a look at Sweet, Sassy, and Classy as they start to move in, set their sights forward, and some good shots going out and follow it down. Hey, we're throwing it towards our back. Okay, detection arrow going to the left. Understandable.
Yeah, I mean, they've got a really good power position on the outside, and they just are, I think, a little worried because nobody spotted IQ's team in a millennia or this entire map. But they're a little bit worried somebody's coming in to flank them. Now, it looks like Rogue Pringle and BeegBoeies are saying, okay, you got our boy down. We've got to take a fight, and we got to pick one. And it looks like they've chosen their target. It's going to be Sweet, Sassy, and Classy 3v2. Whereas on the other side, Jan is on the run, having lost a player. So 2 different fights that have now fully separated. What was a medley of different teams has turned into 2 teams on either side battling for their lives on this map, while IQ sits and waits and camps the visitors' center extraction point.
Oh, this right here. We're gonna have to work our way up, but to be fair, REC is no stranger to crouch walking to rotate where they need to be. We saw that on Space City. So just holding this angle, waiting to just let it rip. Will someone actually look to peek this?
I mean, it's a 2v3, but hey, I see everybody in chat. PKM supremacy. I heard you loud and clear, and it's been proven on main. And this could be the final test to see how great this weapon truly is. A bullet hose sure hits like a truck. Why not? Can you win a 2v3 against Sweet, Sassy, and Classy? And off screen, you can see now, moving on screen, guess what? Man, everybody was having a party. I guessed we should get involved. Here comes IQ's team swinging up from the trenches, looking for a piece of action, looking for a kill or two, looking for anything to get their hands on right now. And they're walking into basically a minefield with multiple teams able to shoot at them.
Oh.
Pending what's happened with the rest of these teams. It does look like Jan maybe is still somewhat in the area, but Grim is long gone.
Well, I mean, if Lups is here and was ready for that engagement, like, that's understandable. We need to see something happen here from Twisted Minds. Granted, just kind of putting out some utility, seeing what is FN9 in particular going to do. So CN Deman still kind of looking to set up, but there's a lot of teams that are rotating on out, in particular that EBT roster that says, you know, Grim making his way out towards the eastern side, January still enthralled. Maybe we're going to look for some plays to try and ruin some other people's game here on Zero Dam.
Speaking of ruining somebody's game, I knew January was still in the area, and January's getting paid. I mean, we got Grim way out here just in case, and January's picked up a double on IQ and one only. He said, you want to join the party? Too late, bud. Party's over, and you're not invited. See you later. Also seeing Pringle getting taken out. PKM supremacy, sure, but unfortunately not enough to win the 2v3. And they actually win the full trade here. Gonna have to get a full revive, but even still, Sweet, Sassy, and Classy have a great opportunity to finally not only put points on the board, but potentially leapfrog some teams on this leaderboard.
All right, back up to a full 3. You'll love to see it for them. Now they can go focus on the loot. They've already got about 2.3 million thus far into Zero Dam. EBT on your screen, January and Grim. Sure, duo, but at least 3.7 mil. Keep an eye out for where they have situated themselves to. Grim is kind of sitting on that exfil, so not wrong there. But my thing is, Ghosh, where is Twisted Minds going to be able to move from?
Yeah, I mean, they're in trouble. And I think, too, I mean, this isn't a bad play. I mean, Jan made the most of it. Sending Grim all the way out is impressive. We'll get back to that, though, because all of a sudden FN9 says, well, I don't have any teammates, so how do I get involved in my opponents? I guess I'm just going to push the equation and, unfortunately, get punished for it. But wait, did they just trade? FN9 gets a double kill with the frag, and they completely trade, both wiping each other. And Sweet, Sassy, and Classy has no idea. They know there's a fight over here. They're going to get here, and there's going to be 4 bodies that have been completely untouched. Unbelievable sequence of events. Sure, they've got, you know, a couple 100,000 from those kills, but Tiff, Sweet, Sassy, and Classy are not just the trash people to come pick up the trash. They're literally just going to run around and loot a bunch of bodies that didn't even kill. This is unbelievable.
Oh my gosh, like, I feel like this is who you call in to, like, break down a kaiju, and that is just what they're here to do. Just take all of the high value stuff and equipment straight from them if they can find it all, right? Because you can see they're still scouting, still looking for information, saying, hey, like, is anyone else lurking around? Or did they seriously just trade? Like, we're spotting bodies. This is where we can capitalize on this. January and Grim, though, that duo is still on the map. You can see just across the way over towards Substation. But let's hit that replay, Ghosh, because you've got to break it down again.
Yeah, this was a wild sequence of events because first, FN9 plays a great trade to pick up 1 and then throws the frag grenade as a prayer to potentially get the cleanup or at least zone off that player so that he could back up as well and get his reload in. I think he ran out of bullets. And what happened was RDG was like, no, I'm getting this trade. I know he's out of ammo. I got to push this fight. But the nade had been cooked long enough that they traded lives, frag killing everybody. Everybody dies. And now all that's left is Grim and January trying to decide, do we just leave with 3.7 and a couple kills? Or do we try to play out anybody else in this area and see if we can maybe pick up a few more in transition? They don't really have time for anything else, so let's just get out of this map likely. But I think Grim has most of the loot, so I think it's January getting involved. Is going to catch the wrong side of a barrel and almost somehow wins that against Killzall, even though Killzall had been holding that lane. Great effort from January. Definitely not going to get anything from it, and Grim is nowhere to be seen. They're just trying to get out with some points on the board here to make sure they can maintain some semblance of a lead. So a nice cleanup there after a knock. January full wiped, and Grim says, all right, I'm not coming back for that. And all of a sudden, Sweet, Sassy, and Classy Tiff goes from 0 to hero if they can get out of this map.
Yeah, I mean, we're north of 10 million because we just stumbled upon the gold mine and they're just like looting, getting it all up. They should have no issues getting on out of here. And then you pick up the extra 200K from grabbing January. So if I'm Grim, I just want to exfil with what I've got. Sure, it was what, like 6.6 mil because we got one player out on Space City. You preserve what you can and then go for broke in that last game on Brackish.
Yeah, and I think this is a pretty important note, frankly. You know, the difference between logging 600K and almost 4 million is frankly massive when you've already got a pretty strong performance on the leaderboard. Reminder, they were a top 3 team already, and so they're in a pretty good position to be able to log a couple extra million and make sure they don't get gapped by their competition. And I think this is going to be the turning point for a team like Wasabi, who's got, you know, a top spot on the leaderboard, but yet again, came out with basically nothing. And so this leaderboard is going to dramatically change, and it's because of this team as well. Sweet, Sassy, and Classy, they are going to have to drop a few things, but they are going to get out of this map, and that's really all that matters. After a decent amount of kills, they got 4 in total, and an extract within reach. They're going to move on their merry way, and they're going to be feeling very comfortable. This time, not waiting till the last map to find some value, doing it in the third.
Gosh, they've got 16.8 mil.
I know. I'm telling you, it's the exact same thing that happened in semifinals. It's just a map earlier, which, hey, congrats to them. And we're going to see Grim get out here on Visitor Center Extract. Congrats to them. They're doing it earlier. Now they can actually play for something in this final map.
That's what you need to do, honestly. Just got to get on out of here. Less than a minute to go, and should be all is well. They're just going to keep on scouting here, making their way straight to that extract, but Grim is gone. Grim preserved what he could, and it was just over 3 mil, so that's fine. They're going to be situated close to double digits. I can't wait to see how the leaderboard's going to shake out for them, but it's still consistent. We're still getting something.
I really think we're going to look at this leaderboard at the end of this map, and we're going to see 0 to hero being a kind of an idiom or a phrase that you hear very often. It's absolutely the case for Sweet, Sassy, and Classy. My goodness. I mean, they were on literally 0 points, actually 0 going into this one. And now they're probably, I think mathematically, going to be at the top of the leaderboard once all the math is calculated. That was a near 17.5 million game or somewhere around the likes of that. Our top team had 11 after 2. They're going to be at the top of the leaderboard, but it's still going to be close all the way down through probably all 6 teams, or at least close to it. I am really excited about this final map with the way this leaderboard is shaking up. This is a nail biter, and I love it, Tiff.
I do too, but you just kind of have to smile when you think about it because it's not the team, like they're making very calculated maneuvers, but this 0 dam, by just having Chompin from REC, as we tee up some of these replays, watch their back on that initial party when they were basically looking to flank onto EBT. It's Sweet, Sassy, and Classy that show up, take down Chompin, watch the trades happen, and walk into just a gold mine.
Yeah, and again, like you think back on 0 Dam, where everybody spawned and how they were playing, everybody played extremely slow. The exception to that rule, funny enough, was Wasabi and his team. That squad, BeegBoeies, they're at the top of the leaderboard, and they were the first team to rotate in, and they're the reason that people started throwing bullets down range. Once the bullets started firing, everybody came flocking, looking for a piece of the action, looking for some loot, looking for some kills. And everybody got all of that besides the loot. Every single team picking up some kills. Every single team is going to see an advancement on the leaderboard to some degree. There was moments like this where you're kind of playing some of these flanks, being able to pick up some in transition, trading lives. Player advantage kept falling in the hands of Sweet, Sassy, and Classy, and they capitalize on it. Sometimes you got to be in the right place at the right time, decision or otherwise. They did a great job cleaning up, and then this moment was ridiculous. The fact that those two teams traded definitely changed the map up a little bit. Grim able to mitigate some of the losses by extracting as a solo. And then, of course, Sweet, Sassy, and Classy, you're winners of that map. And there's no question about it, Tiff.
I love how we still send out the dragonfly when they're about to extract just in case someone
Always.
decides to make a crazy play, because it's not like we haven't seen that over here in North America. You think back to Brackish, right? We had the team looking to exfil at the very last second, and next thing you know, full swings, just one person going rogue.
Yeah, always. Hey, if you're not expending every single gadget, every single nade on extract, you're doing it wrong, folks. Hey, thanks for tuning in thus far. I am sure you're feeling a lot of the same that I am. I'm starting to sweat. Last map is going to be very sweaty, and it could change everything. This last map could determine anybody getting the victory here. You're not going to want to miss it. We're going to head to a very short break here in the booth. When we come back, the last map of the day and the last map for the Delta Force Global League here in Season 1 Operations North America. It's banger.
All right then. Let's see how you do.
So, Kushti, you ain't seen nothing yet. I've got an ace in the hole.
We're not done here.
Did you really think we're just here to play cards? Like I said, I've got an ace in the hole.
Welcome back to the Delta Force Global League Season 1 North America Operations Finals. And folks, we've got one more map to go. I am so pumped to hop into it. I'm Goj, this is Tiff, and we've been your host casters for the entirety of this crazy week that we've had with esports and other events that we've done with Delta Force. And this is our last map of this wild week, Tiff. I'm so pumped to get into it. But first, we got to take a look at the scores. Talk me through it from this last match and then the overall.
Yeah, we've got to break things down because look at game number 3. Sweet, Sassy, and Classy. Not only did they grab 4 kills, so they've got a nice 800,000 acquired from that alone, but they waltz into a graveyard full of loot, 17.6 million scoreline coming out of game number 3. Now, it's not quite the 20 million from semis, but I mean, Gosh, that's pretty much it. That is the Hail Mary play that they were looking for when they started out at relatively the bottom of the leaderboard. Now, Twisted Minds, this is kind of one of those teams that we saw going into that initial fight, and there was the duo. They had the trade with the frag grenade from Luna. Quite unfortunate, but at least they do have 3 kills. And I don't want to skip over EBT because at least Grim does salvage 3.3 million out of that. They walk away with just under 4, which is all fine and dandy, but they just haven't had the time to actually get out on a map as a squad of 3 with their north of 10 million loot like we want them to, and like they really want to as well.
Yeah, no, it's a good shout. I think that will matter. Let's look at the overall and see if that 4 million truly does matter for EBT. And whoa, alrighty. Sweet, Sassy, and Classy. I mean, you all can do the math. It only takes 1. They're at the top of this leaderboard by a sizable margin now, about 6.3 million separating top couple teams here. And I say top couple because look at the spread between BeegBoeies and EBT. After 2 dud maps, unfortunately for BeegBoeies, their first map victory has carried them forward, still in the top 3. The last 2, I think they netted around 200k each in the last 2, keeping them ahead of EBT, but only basically by a single kill, aka 200,000, Tef.
What if Sweet, Sassy, and Classy just walks away with the entire North America Operations Season 1 win here? That would be insanity. But hey, it could happen. BeegBoeies, you're right. That first initial win on Brackish was about 10 million, so they're going to need to do that again here in the final map of the day. As you've seen, Brackish 10.7 mil. EBT walk away with 7 mil from Space City. Sweet, Sassy, and Classy 17.6. Okay, that might be the biggest map of the day that we've seen across regions. But hear me out. Brackish, this is where things got wild, Goj. That pace, that slow pace, which really wasn't even slow for map 1, really amped up in the final map of the day.
Yeah, no, I think that's a really good shout. Folks, it's the last map of the day. If you find yourself at the bottom of the leaderboard, what do you need to do? You need to get involved. You need to start getting active, and you need to wipe some teams. Because basically, your responsibilities right now are it's a heavy burden to bear, I'm going to be honest. Because not only do you need to wipe some teams and get a bunch of loot and get out of the map, you need to wipe the top teams. If they let Sweet, Sassy, and Classy even just get a decent map, any team that's near the bottom of the leaderboard is going to have a really hard time getting a 20 million game and hoping Sweet, Sassy, and Classy don't make it out at all with hardly a kill to their name. I think Sweet, Sassy, and Classy, the responsibility from them right now is, sure, we can go for kills. I think just look for a decent game and get out with something. Again, I need to tip my hat to EBT. Given all of the crazy fights they've been taking, and despite all of the odds against them, they still got Grim out with 4 million. What does that do? It puts them within striking distance of still winning this tournament. If they didn't do that and only got their, I don't know, 400, 600k, they'd still be 4-ish million, 3.5 million behind the BeegBoeies. So I don't know. It's gonna be really fun to watch. It's time to hop into Brackish. I think some folks are gonna swing for the fences, and I'm excited to see what happens.
Oh, you get a good lay of where everyone spawned on in at. Infant Baby B, Lups with Twisted Minds down there in the Tower of Babel. You've got Chompin, REC out towards the right. And, well, look who's over there as well. EBT in the mix. A ton of people just heading south. But look who decides to lock it in the Royal Museum yet again. It's going to be the BeegBoeies.
Yeah, and I love that we get a chance to look at where all of our teams are beforehand, because it's going to show us who's going to probably interact first. The Tower of Babel is always the place where fights go down. It's where there's really good loot, obviously, as well, if you want to play that strategy. We've been here before. Let's see what we do this time around. What did we learn from the first time we were on Brackish? What are we able to achieve? And already, this is about to get insanely mixy really quick because all of a sudden Infant Baby swings around the corner. SMG in hand, can't quite fully connect and take down one, and is just spam flashing his light, trying to get some semblance of an advantage over his opponents in technically kind of a 1v3 right now, but his opponents don't know that. Finally able to get some backup, and they're going to back up out of this fight because they had a player disadvantage in that fight. Their opponents had no clue that they were there, and as such, they didn't want to swing on that and potentially lose their lives on the last map of the day.
I mean, you drop the whirlwind disc, you drop the tactical flashbang, and you're like, please just don't even push me, because that is sweet, sassy, and classy. And if they go down right off the rip here on the final map of the day, you are 100% accurate. That just claws open the door for the pure chaos that's about to follow. But for BeegBoeies, chomping, you know, they want that to happen, right? Like, that is what they need.
It's what they need. It's what they want. There was a moment there where I thought Sweet, Sassy, and Classy was about to blow the doors wide open of this leaderboard and say, well, we're out of here quickly, so might as well see who can take us down. 6 million is a great lead, but if you go out early with nothing, it's not that hard to overcome by at least one team.
Now everyone's just like, okay, maybe we jumped the gun too quick. Let's just slow it down. But look who's rotated in. We knew a lot of people were potentially going to move on down, and maybe we leave the Royal Museum. Maybe we just kind of position ourselves to get lines of sight. We see a knock right there. I think that was FN9 or potential IQ from CN Deman.
Yeah, they just lost a player. I'll be curious to see if they get full cleaned up or not. We swing back to January and Co, and you can see now does look like IQ was the one that got knocked, but is in a position to potentially get this revived. Now, it's Wasabi's team that's deciding to try to push the equation. The BeegBoeies are tired of not scoring much and are getting quite a bit more active, but they get punished on transition. Looks like they had an angle somehow on Equal Plays, who's always been this kind of route man on the left-hand side, trying to play flank, play distraction so his duo could push up and get the cleanup, but gets punished. Now, is still down, can still be rescued, not fully revived. So I think both of these teams are going to back up and tend to their wounds, as it looks like January is trying to get involved and potentially third party this kind of. I think One and Only and Co know there's a team behind them, and January is not one that tends to peek out first.
Yeah, I'm going to say here, look, we've already changed up our operator standpoint. We're going in with 2 Lunas and a D-Wolf. We know mission all day to just go for the top of the leaderboard. And you've kind of already said it, right? If you're going to have CN Deman back up and look to disengage, well, where are they going to go? Straight towards EBT.
January's thinking about it. He's thinking about swinging on One and Only. They did get the full rescue up, so everybody's got all their players alive. They're worried about this one. Nice swing here, potentially through cover, kind of tracking their opponents down. Third party not quite as much of a problem now. These two teams kind of isolated.
Okay. On the regain. I mean, this is a massive game for them if we can make something of it. Like you said, they came in 3rd place overall on the leaderboard. So keep your eyes on Sweet, Sassy, and Classy, the one that's been about that 17 million based on their performance from Zero Down. BeegBoeies really riding off the high from the first initial brackish map of the day where they net themselves about 10.5 million. Everyone else is just trying to salvage and take everything from them.
This map will determine it all. Still several teams, just like Pringle and Twisted Minds, are still inside of Tower of Babel off screen. You can see them off into the distance. These are the fights we're looking for. You're right. I mean, Wasabi hasn't found success. This team, BeegBoeies, are still in the top 3. Just after one strong brackish game. They've got an opportunity to double down on that history, but... M700 back in the mix here for the snipers. Tried and true classic. At least in the meta right now. And yeah, you can now see Tower of Babel still has 3 teams. They're so stacked on top of each other, I couldn't quite see them on our map view. You're right, still 3 teams in Babel. The rest of the map is at the behest of the rest of these 3 teams.
Love how everyone just pumped the brakes again. Couple people moving over there. Chompin, Rogue Pringle, BeegBoeies. just lurking around, but honestly, it's probably just trying to play off audio, look for any kind of information. They know they're not going to be alone. We had 2 teams initially spawn in on the Tower of Babel. One moved in pretty much immediately straight in.
Yeah, and I'm wondering what you do if you're the big boys. Wasabi equal plays. You basically have the most northern position of all of these teams. I'm not sure you 100% know that, so you're going to play this slow. But this is the battle. It's almost isolated. 3 teams on the outside playing kind of just to the south side of the museum. Then 3 teams inside of the tower. Peeking corners and unfortunately getting punished for it. Chomping first down. Trying to play for this corner that it looks like their opponents had just a better angle. Some high ground there from RDG allows him to get a pick. They're going to go for the rescue. This is going to be a cause for at least an angle to try to push. But a nice hold from their opponents. All of a sudden, everybody's back on their feet.
I mean, if you're going to go for a quick rescue like that, that's what you really want to have happen. So keep an eye out as you've got Twisted Minds who need to break into the top 3, but Rogue Pringle gets caught from the right side, immediately trying to get involved, and Twisted Minds nets themselves a kill here.
Oh, Rogue Pringle just had too much bloodlust on that one. I mean, sure, it was an okay knock if you could have picked him up before they got inside, but once he broke your line of sight and you couldn't tell where he was going, it's like you ran headfirst into a bush with no vision. I mean, it's so risky. And when you're lower on the leaderboard, I mean, we've seen some great plays from Pringle and co. This is a really good team, but value-wise on the leaderboard, they're way down there. I mean, I think they're at a total of 2 million overall in 3 maps. The second closest to them in 5th place is at 8.5 million. I mean, they got to, I guess, swing for the fences. It was an unfortunate play, and they've lost their life because of it. And it looks like maybe Sweet Sassy and Classy is going to try to just creep in third party this here inside of the tower.
I mean, this is what we're really all keeping our eyes on is Sweet Sassy and Classy. What is going to come from their performance here in the Tower of Babel? And will we see more teams looking to move in because EBT is likely going to hear that fight, and after kind of lurking around, looking for CN Deman, they decide maybe that's not the course of action they want to take. If we kind of sit out here, camp underneath.
Yeah, I don't know that saline or gunpowder is going to get you very far in this competition. You got to check. It was, I believe, no, it was Space City where the team in semis found the heart of Africa, but even still, you just check every trash can. It might as well. The trash bins actually kind of go crazy in loot. And Twisted Minds has been here inside of the office for a very long time. Just trying to play. I mean, it's a pretty strong position to play just because these windows you can't shoot through, so you can get a ton of intel, try to approach your fight in a specific way. Of course, a key card pull from one of these jackets would have been nice. A couple mil. But so far, you're right, just a slow play. And you can see it does look like January Spades and Grim are going to back out potentially and find another angle. I think they're still worried about these teams that they know are on the outside of the tower. And they're like, look, we still got 20 minutes on this map. I don't think rushing into the tower with little to no information, where teams have been in there for several minutes, is the right call. Instead, we're going to try to take this fight on the outside. I don't think they knew it exactly was there. They don't end up getting dropped, but a couple bullets to the face is going to be a signal flare for potentially IQ, FN9 and their third to potentially find an angle to pick a pick here. They need it bad. I'm worried about their flank, Tiff.
Same, but January is just going to anchor down right there. So CN Deman versus EBT. Teams that are respectively 3rd and 5th on the overall leaderboard. CN Deman is going to be the team that's in 5th. So it's going to be massive for them if they can go ahead and take down EBT, who have had multiple times to get out with north of 10 mil. And then things just don't seem to go their way. It was the top team from across both semis.
This isn't quite as fiery of a map as we saw in Europe for the last map in Brackish, or even the first map today. I mean, Brackish, first map today was pretty spicy quickly. Everybody's worried about their positions on the leaderboard right now. And also, some of these fights inside of Babel are just really difficult to take with little to no info.
wrong. We also didn't see this before, right? The majority of our teams kind of full sent for Tower of Babel right off rip. And that was different. So I personally think it makes things more interesting, right? But it also turns into a horror game. And I'm going to make the same ask of where I wished we had heart rate monitors for some of our competitors here today, because I'm telling you, if you're crouch walking down a set of stairs, you're just looking to get caught off. Like, I don't even know at this point. You have to play around angles like crazy.
Yeah, it does look like, I think, Twisted Minds does have about 2.6 on them. That could just be from normal loot. I think it is. I don't think they've looted that body that is full dead, which is going to be Chompin's team. Is that Pringle full dead, I think? Maybe they did loot him. They had his body close enough because he pushed in and overextended. They might have grabbed a gun or two and pushed up over 2 mil.
Oh.
Trying to get intel. Yeah, just any intel is what they need. Twisted Minds does not want to give up this spot. It's such a valuable spot because of this high ground position that you can play around. You can even see that you could shoot over the glass in that corner. I mean, they're going to be here for a while.
I think the standoff between CN Deman and EBT, eventually they're going to push this. And some things to be said about the team just to the back on the left, right? Big boys. They've already sent out equal plays. They're kind of front liner that likes to scout things out and maybe look for an initial pick. They're invested. They're keeping eyes on this engagement, but nothing is actually coming to fruition from this.
They actually had an okay angle on this. If Grim overextends here with his teammate, I can't tell if they're all three together, or if it's just a duo being kind of sent out. They're trying to flank this fight, but they overextend here. I think you're right. I think big boys actually get involved in third party this. If they hear shots, I think they do. Yeah, there's their third. The problem with this, though, Tiff, is Equal Plays has got to send the signal flare to his team. Say, yo, I hear footsteps. Get over here. I mean, he could just shoot him in the back as they go and maybe pick up a triple. It's definitely possible. I think there's a tiny angle where maybe Wasabi could help with a couple bullets, but I think these guys know that angle. They know what they're doing. They're not going to just sprint across the street. But if they don't know that Equal Plays is on the other side of this, Equal Play should get a free kill here, no problem. He's going to go ahead and take it. Maybe a hair more patience, maybe. Not worth the risk. That player was turning towards him. All of a sudden, a full wipe on one. Equal Plays gets paid for his patience and strikes down one of the members. It's January, full out potentially. And now in a really tough spot. Grim's having to play this wall. And F9 heard those shots. IQ, one only. They're right around the corner, and they know, wait a minute. There's a couple more teams here than we thought.
Leave it to the Nox. Leave it to Equal Plays. Just constantly pulling things together like that. You do kind of situate yourself farther back, right? But still, maybe look for someone that's going to get involved. FN9, Ziandaman, they don't move, really. They just kind of keep sending out utility, seeing what they can do information-wise, because we still know there's teams in Tower of Babel that are going to look to come out eventually. We're at the 15-minute mark, so not quite in that pure scramble time zone of what we've seen in other competitive brackish maps, but also this current setup is different than what we've seen historically throughout our week.
Yeah, and again, I think this is the third or fourth time. Patience is a virtue usually. I think I'll backtrack on that statement a little bit. If you're in this tourney and you're at the bottom of the leaderboard, we'll see if it pays off. We'll see if it's a virtue. See if it makes you money, I think is really the right answer. Slow walking this corner, though. They pop out of here. Sweet, Sassy, and Classy might punish them.
All right, Twisted Minds.
Inside.
2.6. We're gonna need something bigger than that. I mean, that gets you just over double digits, north of 10 mil, but not to the neighborhood of Sweet, Sassy, and Classy.
Again, one wrong mistake here. You see them jiggle picking these corners, just trying to catch a bullet. Who's gonna pull the trigger first? Two inside the room to the right now, based on this perspective. and one around the corner. If they go down these stairs, dead. They move into that room, dead. What do? They back up and play slow, play safe. It's the right call.
Grim, Spades? Are they back into the tower? On the underground side of it? Okay.
Yeah. I'm honestly, I'm impressed that I think IQ's team allowed them to rotate back into Babel. They only have 2, so they're going to be at a disadvantage right now and coming in with no information. Anybody that's been in the tower for a while knows how many teams are in here probably, and knows generally where they were when shots were fired. Obviously, we lost Pringle in here. But it just comes down to who's going to make the first mistake. Quick look at it, and again, you can see it looks like IQ, FN9, one only are now playing around the big boys. They've completely abandoned the tower and are moving into Museum to play centrally located and prepare for the late game where we're looking for extraction. And we have 4 teams inside the Tower of Babel. Of course, there's an extraction point here, but I promise you, not everybody's making it out.
Not everyone made it out the first map of Brackish either, so Twisted Minds. Chomping on the other side, REC. Oh, and Sweet Sassy and Classy down the way. This is going to get interesting quite quickly. I think it's going to take about to that 10-minute mark. I know we just did a brief check-in with the map where we saw C and Deman that kind of moved up towards the Royal Museum side of things. There is a lever that will trigger the extraction point outside of the Tower of Babel from them, but Beer is feeding the triple blaster.
I think he's just trying to find a way out of here. I mean, I don't think he's going to connect on anything. It looks like maybe he and Chompin have a bit of a cross they can work with together. Chompin likely feeding him information right now. And that info is like, dude, there's a full team of 3 in that room, and they are not coming down anytime soon. It's just about who makes the first mistake. It does look like Twisted Mind's finally on the move. Could be an opening. See, look at that. Grim is creeping up a floor below. They not only made their way into the tower, they're looking to get active in the tower. They know they need kills, and there's got to be people in here.
Oh, it's a good opening. You don't necessarily get a knock out of it, but you force them to disengage and have to heal. So Beerus is going to go into that like guarding position over Chompin, who's looking to reset on the health, and immediately you can see SNK right there just kind of leading the charge coming down the stairs, and RNG with the nade in hand. Can we get a connection?
Here we go. This is what we've been waiting for, and Twisted Minds loses 1. Again, Pringle's been out of it for a while, so now it's a 2v2, a true 2v2. Chomp and Abira is doing the best they can given the situation. Pushing out into the equation. PKM in the face. It works for 1. Shooting with the other. It does look like Chompin is able to wipe the entire team. M14 go crazy. PKM go better. Well played from Chompin to stay alive and win the trade out completely. That was a 2v3 and they don't lose a single life. But what happens? Well, the signal flare. Blood in the water. Guess what? Sweet, Sassy, and Classy here to clean up. And, yeah, some disturbances in the force. Gonna be a problem. This is gonna be a tough fight for the side of Chompin, who wasn't even able to get the rescue. Dead in the water, most likely. Can he even get a trade at the very least? And the answer is no.
No, they cannot. Sweet, Sassy, and Classy really stepping some things up here, not only in game number 3, but gonna be some nice benefactors here on the final map of Brackish. But still knowing that Grim and Spades are nearby, what are they gonna do to counteract this? So you turn your sights to the north. It's gonna be CN, Deman, and BeegBoeies kind of chasing themselves down. Equal Plays was wreaking havoc there on EBT early by picking off 1, but this one was finally gonna break out.
Yeah, both these teams have been chomping at the bit to fight, but waiting for the opportunity, and now's the opportunity. Sub 10 minutes. Something begins to stir amongst the players. And what it is an urgency to win real money. 9 minutes on the clock. You gotta get some points on the board if you want to win this tournament. You don't know what's happening with the rest of these teams. You don't know if they've been fully wiped, if they're still in it. Sweet, Sassy, and Classy, we know has just mostly won out inside of the Tower of Babel. But you don't care about that. You need a full team wipe and hope that you can win the extract.
Oh, I like this. I do. Like, we're just trying to thread a needle of an angle here. Straight onto FN9. Head on over to Wasabi. Kind of anchoring from the backside of things.
I like this setup from them. This is kind of what Wasabi's been doing for his team for a while, kind of playing a bit more support style, longer sight lines. And you can tell he's prepared for the long sight lines. I mean, we saw his kit. He's running M700 and M14. Obviously, hits like a truck close range too, but barrel stuffed SMG is not where Wasabi wants to be.
Ooh. I mean, we're seeing the utility come from that. So yeah, invest the data knife. Invest that over. You immediately, we know FN9 just kind of jumped away from it. Still, could jiggle peek this.
Keep an eye on the leaderboard too. 6.2 mil here. The side of Sweet, Sassy, and Classy. Who are your current leaders on the leaderboard? By about that amount. Somebody's got to take care of that team and make sure they don't get out for free.
Down to a solo, though. Oof.
All right. Flash could be the opening frag, and it looks like... Turns out, no, it doesn't do much. It looks like two players try to cross the road, and that's not the start of a joke. That's just punishing. I mean, that's brutal. Trying to cross the street there and getting punished for it from equal plays yet again on the far side, being a terror on this map. A great pick, and they should have a full team wipe here shortly if they play this smart.
I mean, equal plays is just doing so much over here. He's the one that's going to catch those two players out in the middle of the road because Wasabi and Nicholas is just over here pushing them back, pushing them into unfavorable positions, and we just want to wrap up the last player across the way. It's one and only.
We've got a full team of 3, a solo, a duo, another solo. This is shaping up to be a great end to this map, as Equal Plays and Co have set up a huge trap on their opponent and are able to execute the play. Equal Plays picking up the kill with truly a team effort to make sure they get this win and they don't trade out a player for it. Well played. This is going to be a full team wipe, and again, this is millions of dollars in their pockets. With the way this is scored, this is a huge boon for them. They are trying to catch Sweet, Sassy, and Classy at the top of the leaderboard. I'm going to remind you about those scores. Sweet, Sassy, and Classy were at 17.6 mil. BeegBoeies and EBT, both basically the same score at around 11 mil. Both teams needing a full wipe and some, and a successful extract, and likely Sweet, Sassy, and Classy fully dead. And, well, we tune back over to what happened here. January might be out of it. Grim and Spades are looking pretty healthy, and it looks like both of Killzall's teammates are going to fully bleed out and not be revivable. So Killzall has 6.2 mil in pocket and is just trying to get out of here.
Look, hear me out. You can use the exfil in the Tower of Babel on the top floor. You just gotta be solo and have less than, what, like 50 kg? We could see it happen, maybe?
I'm gonna be honest. This is the right play from Killzall, and it's gonna be a difficult one. If he's able to sneak past his opponents and get out of this map with 6 mil, I don't know if anybody catches them. They're in a really good position. The problem is, Spades and Grim are already up here, and they know exactly what anybody else that's still in... Oh, hey, Larry. What's up, dog? Watch out, man. Spades almost died to Larry. That would have been absolute comedy on main stage. It would have been fine. Maybe.
It's a flesh wound. It's a flesh wound.
Eventually, Killzall is going to try to creep up to where this duo is holding.
Well, we'll just keep tabs on it. Killzall's gonna have to make a heck of a play. Meanwhile, you still have BeegBoeies up and at him towards the north. think, what are they at? 13.6 million? I mean, that could do it.
Yeah, that's crazy. After all of this, after this crazy battle inside of Babel, Killzall, a hero play right now to try to survive and try to extract, is I think now bailing on the play. Gonna try to wrap all the way around the outside of this map. The main team that we actually have to watch is this full team of 3, who in theory don't have to do anything else besides just leave. They've got a crazy amount of value. They picked up 13.5 mil from the bodies that they found and the bodies that they killed. Got 4 total kills on the map plus 13 mil. This is a huge map for them. Completely isolated from the Babel fight. And we're down to the final 3 minutes. I mean, they're gonna get out of here. And now I think the only person that could play spoiler is just Killzall by himself in a 1v3 against this trio, if he even gets there in time.
I mean, it came down to mere seconds in map 1 of Brackish, and we saw solos making a play. This is all coming down to we need every bit that we have on us to make a play for the top of the leaderboard. Now, mind you, $1,500 first place here today. Sure, some of our 6 teams, they'll be taking home some cash, but it's definitely not as much as first place.
So I think this is the really interesting moment here in the last 2 minutes. Everybody needs what they have for sure. EBT, I mean, they have a strong position, but they only have, 2 some odd mil. It looks like actually they've picked up to about 5.7. The real math that is being done right now in my head, Killzall, if he's able to bring in around 5 to 6 mil, he's going to have about 11 to 12 mil lead on BeegBoeies. Look how many points they have right now. They've got 12.8 in their inventory. It's going to come down to less than 1 million separating both of these teams if they both make it out. And right now, it's not looking great for Sweet, Sassy, and Classy.
Well, back to BeegBoeies here. Killzall also making their way up to the north. We see a final standoff here.
They don't track him with the Hack Claw. They're going to get out. This could be all she wrote. They're going to get out with over 12 million, but they did deplete some. They had to drop some. Look at it. 11.8 is going to be their total. If Killzall is also able to get out, it's going to come down to the wire. Mathematically, this is going to be insane. The problem is there's no more seats. There's no way for him to leave. And unfortunately, I think that just cost them the tourney. As Spades, I think, falls to his own nade. And I think his teammate was able to make it out. What a brutal way to watch this map end. I won't call it yet, but I'm pretty positive BeegBoeies made a huge play to not only get out, but also take the last seats on the way out of this extraction point. Killzall can't do anything about it, but just watch that clock dwindle down another 15 seconds. And it's going to leave the game and just call it there. No way out, no way home. Sweet, Sassy, and Classy. Did they peak too early? I don't know, but it was a great tourney and a great end to that last map, Tiff.
It really was. Now the question is, how does everything shake out? We know our admins have a lot of math to do behind the scenes, and I'm sitting here and I can guess all day and say, was it enough? Did we see come through? We know one member of EBT was able to get out and it looked to be around 4 to 5 million. That's tough. Tee up the replays, Goj, because this was a very interesting game of Brackish.
Yeah, let's take a look at it. A fun one, but a different one than we were expecting. We were expecting a lot of action. We did see it inside of the Tower of Babel in spurts, but all the teams just trying to stay alive, which makes a lot of sense. The only way to net a lot of value is to stay alive and get out of the map. We had these kind of 2 different isolated positions, basically to the south side of Museum and then everybody inside of Babel. Those were the 2 big fights. And frankly, what I thought the biggest fight would be was inside of Babel. It turns out it was this one on your screen right now. The fight between FN9 and Wasabi totally dictated the way that map went. Because Wasabi's team with the big boys was able to win that and get over 10 million in gear, they said, we're fine with that. We don't need much more than that. We've had a pretty decent tournament. And so they're likely going to be near the top of the leaderboard, if not at the top. But some fun fights here. A tough swing and then a tough cleanup here by Sweet, Sassy, and Classy. I really thought Sweet, Sassy, and Classy were going to win out in Babel, but something went wrong off screen. While we were watching that Wasabi fight, we lost 2 members of Sweet, Sassy, and Classy, and Killzall couldn't even get back to try to revive them. So instead, he goes for the other extraction zone, thinking, hey, maybe everybody's out. Maybe Wasabi's team is fully eliminated, and this extraction point's going to be open for me. And unfortunately, he catches them leaving right when he gets there and can't do anything about it. The points are going to fall as they may, but I love the way we ended this tournament. I love the way we got to see esports on display here in Operations, Tiff.
I really do too. Now it's all about who's going to be taking the North American side of things. It was a dynamic day, and every map that we witnessed did not disappoint, and were varying differences that we were able to see. I still am very partial to the action that we've been getting on Space City, and I love it in comp for sure.
Yeah, I've really enjoyed the map rotation and the way it panned out. I think Brackish Twice is fun. It's kind of one of those maps that hits most of the sweet spots. The spawns aren't too terribly close together. You have kind of that Tower of Babel that reminds you of, say, Space City, and then you have kind of the village, I suppose, rest of the map with museum that kind of reminds you of places in Zero Dam or Layali or otherwise. And so we got to hit the full gambit of what Operations has to offer. And with the 6 teams on display, again, I think it's fun to kind of look back on this tournament and see where we came from. All of these teams not only worked their way through online qualifiers where they were able to earn a bit of cash and try to make it to the semifinals. We saw 6 teams make it to the semifinals from each week. Inside of those weeks, we then had internal competition, semifinals, offline, where teams did their best under the exact same format to make it to here today. And then we found our top 6 teams overall and put them on the map together and said, good luck under the exact same rules. What can you do? And again, I think it really was a close competition. I think we've seen some blowouts through the course of semis, and even into Europe, there was some really, really strong scores. But even now, I mean, some mental math, I think I get where we need to go, but it's close. And you got to remember, it's not a winner takes all. I mean, we're jockeying for second, third. That's a lot of cash changing hands, and a lot of cash you're missing out on just because of maybe a single kill. I think the margins are going to be pretty thin between some of these teams here, Tiff.
Yeah, not only that, but just the bragging rights alone, to be able to say, I came in here, I did this during the Delta Force Global League NA operations for Season 1. I was at the forefront of the operations competitive structure, and to kick things off and to be able to have that kind of accolade for your team, that has to mean just as much as the cash.
Yeah, no, totally. I mean, this is the start of something new. This is the Delta Force Global League. This is Season 1. So if you call yourself the champion of Season 1, that kind of sets you as the reigning champs. Let's take a look at the scores from that map first, and we can do a little bit of mental math, and then they'll show us the actual math. And truly a massive effort here in the final map. Big boys come in clutch. Brackish is their home, apparently, Tiff, because that is the only place they've earned cash, but it was probably enough to put them near the top of the leaderboard just in 2 maps. Several kills, and of course, a ton of loot as well because of the eliminations they found. And I'm excited to see what potentially will be our overall leaderboard here shortly as the rest of our teams kind of get logged. You can see Sassy and Deman, who did pretty well in that fight, took some good encounters, but unfortunately just get punished and don't even get out with a kill on that one. A tough map for them and a tough day for them, but still, congratulations to them for making it here. Sweet, Sassy, and Classy, of course, Killzall. He had several million in his pocket, but couldn't make it out. All seats were taken. 200K because of that 1 kill, Tiff. And then, of course, the rest of our teams lined up. Twisted Minds, man, that fight in Babel, they had a really good position. They lost the 2v3, and that one's going to sting for a while because they had a really good spot to potentially jump this leaderboard dramatically and make a play for first place if they would have won out in the Tower of Babel. So those are the scores from Game 4. What do you think, Tiff? Pretty strong across the board, but obviously big boys on top.
Yeah, I mean, look, you got to think back to the first initial map on Brackish, right? Didn't Big Boys come out on top with about 10.56 mil initially? So you love to see them kind of go full circle moment from the start towards the end of our North American operation finals here. So to get that extract with all of that scoreline, it's got to be close.
Yeah, I think it's somewhat close, and I think it's very close between some of the teams in second, third, fourth, fifth, and even into sixth potentially. And I don't know. I've loved this format, folks. If you've been paying attention to esports, everything that Delta Force has to offer, well, we love feedback. I've seen a lot of you in the chat. Don't worry, I'm watching chat. And if you've got feedback, you can definitely hit us up. Delta Force, you can follow them all over the place. You know them. You probably follow their socials already, but if you haven't, drop a follow on all major socials, all right? A great way to give feedback is through that Discord as well. Probably many of you learned about esports through the Discord because you're in there getting notifications, everything in between. Go join the Discord and drop a follow in all those socials. But as a quick reminder, Delta Force does have a brand new esports Twitter or X. You gotta go follow DF Game Esports, DF Game Esports on Twitter. Go drop them a follow. They're gonna be dropping updates about everything that esports has to offer. But our math has been done. The math having been mathed, let's reveal the champion. Our champions of NA Operations Finals are the big boys. We know them, we love them, and maybe you have some friendly banter with them, but they are your winners today, and a very job well done, especially on Brackish. It was just enough in 2 to put them at the top of the leaderboard. You see Nick, you see Wasabi, you see Equal Plays, and I gotta say, they really did set up a lot of their fights very well, which was the key to their success today. Playing Equal Plays on the outside, playing the flank, it worked out almost every single team fight for this trio.
Yeah, it really did. It made such a big difference. And I know we had some fun calling them BeegBoeies, Beach Boys, all the round. It's been a joy to witness their journey, and finding that success on Brackish in Maps 1, in Maps 4, led to them having almost 24 million and 10 kills alongside it. Not quite the top fragging team, but you see EBT just ahead of them in third place with only 1 more kill, tied alongside frags with Twisted Minds, but we only cared about the top score.
Yeah, and you can see the totals across the board here. EBT having a great day today, just shy of Sweet Sassy and Classy after, I think it was about a 4 million extract. We'll get that corrected. Sweet Sassy and Classy, second place. And this is a lot of the same. I mean, this is the same Sweet Sassy and Classy we saw in semifinals. Not a ton of kills, but they come in, third party, get a couple, and here they are. So this is your final scores of the day. 17.8 mil in total from Sweet Sassy and Classy with only 5 kills. Whereas the 3 opponents nearby them on the leaderboard, 10, 11, 10 kills. Twisted Minds there in 4th overall. And here's a quick look at that pricing breakdown as we take a look at these. Hey, you're still making cash regardless of where you fall. It's a great day in the office to be playing some Delta Force, Tiff.
Definitely Big Boys walking away with that $1,500 first place prizing. Sweet Sassy and Classy having a heck of a game, bringing them all the way up to second place with $1,000. Imagine if Killsaw could have gotten out of there. Unfortunately didn't, but regardless, still within the top 2. Feels good. EBT though, a tough go for them throughout our 4 maps today. Walk away with that third place, and then Twisted Mind, Deman, REC at the bottom. I'm still proud of all of our competitors today, Gosh.
Oh, of course. And I gotta say, look, we're here to put on a show as well. And talk about REC, they might have been at the bottom, but I'm looking at Rogue Pringle, I'm looking at B-Riz, and I'm looking at Chompin'. They were a really entertaining crew to watch throughout the course of the day. So congrats to you guys. Still winning a bit of cash from obviously qualifiers and then also today. But folks, we've got an interview with one of the finest, one of the big boys themselves. I believe we've got Nicholas in the booth with us. Nicholas, my man, huge congratulations. Brother, you can mute on broadcast all you want. You are the champion. How you feeling today? And talk to me about that last map and that last fight in particular.
Oh man,
and how you set it up.
Crazy. It was crazy. So we had the craziest spawn again. We just stick to the same plan. We just had to be very patient. We just had to hold a good position, and we were able to capitalize on rotations. So that was our game plan.
Yeah.
Nice. I mean, I like it. You guys were one of the most patient teams out there today. It definitely paid off. And I was kind of doing some VOD review of your team coming into this, but talk me through some of the prep or changes that you guys were making from semis going into the grand finals.
I mean, we didn't do too much prep work. I think we just have so much experience in the game that we kind of already know how the game plays out. And I've always been thinking about this in terms of a competitive level. There's just a lot of things that this game, this game goes on a very deep level, and I'm pretty sure the devs know about this too. Like the map design, it's very, very well thought of. My only gripes about the map balance is Space City is absolutely cooked if you don't have key cards for rotations. So that's my only gripe about the about that format. As you can see.
Well, I mean, I respect the call because that was a tough map for you guys. Talk to me about Brackish and why it works so well. I mean, obviously, those are your two big maps. It's Brackish on the front end, Brackish on the back end. And your playstyle there, I mean, obviously, patience was, a virtue throughout the course of the day, and you got paid for it. But why Brackish? What was so good about Brackish in the way you played that one?
I don't know. So we had different game plans. So if we were to spawn by tower, we would try to secure a tag. If we kill a team, then we'll get one out, and then we'll just grief the rest of the lobby. If we spawned up top, we would hold bagless. And if we spawned middle museum, we just hit switch and museum. And we'll just so we can narrow down our extracts. And then if it does come down to like a last second extract at Babel, as you can see, we'll just smoke in and just pray we don't die.
Yeah. Yeah. I hear you.
Yeah, that was the game plan.
Love it. Good game plan. Honestly, though, I kind of want to dive into the other teams that were potentially in the lobby alongside you. Was there anyone in particular that you were worried about facing in the grand finals, or did you come in confident that you could take down everyone?
I think there was only two teams we were worried about. It was January's team and Brish's team. But I think those are the two teams that we were worried about, and we were very fortunate to pick them both in Bracken space. So it was very good for us.
Yeah, well, your playstyle worked out for you, and obviously, job well done. I want you to go celebrate. Before you go, though, I mean, this is kind of the beginning of Delta Force esports, and things will continue to change and be tuned going forward. Talk to me about your team. How did your team form? How do you know each other? How have you been playing together? I want to hear about the big boys and maybe why you're named that.
Big boys. I don't know. I'm a big guy. What can I say? Like I don't know. It's always been like my family. I guess like my stream family. So that's what we're called, the big boys. But yeah, I met Wasabi. He was just like a random guy I met in solo queue, and we've played over 1,000 games together. And so that's like my rock. Like Wasabi's my homie, and Equal I met through Wicked. Shout out to Wicked. Yeah, we talked about it, and it was like, hey, let's do this tournament. Let's see what we can do. And it'll be just fun to compete. Like money wasn't really I just wanted to compete because the jitters, the emotions, it's just really fun. And it's been a while since I've competed in something like this. So
yeah, well, cheers, man. You guys crushed it, and obviously, hopefully, this is the beginning of something great here.
Yeah, it's great. It's great. I mean, I think if the devs really want to grow this as the esport, I'd say for sure. Yeah, there definitely had to be some tweaks, especially the qualifiers. It's just the qualifiers wasn't as. I guess it's good for qualifying, but I feel that some things could be improved. But overall, it's everything can be improved, right? But I love this game, and I just hope it succeeds.
Yeah, I hear you. Well, we're excited about the future and excited about more in the Delta Force ecosystem. Well, man, I want you to shout it. I know you stream, and I know some friends stream as well. I want you to shout yourself out. Where can people find you? Where can they learn all the secret strats on how to win every Brackish map that you play at a competitive level? Shout yourself out.
Thank you. Shout out to my stream family, everyone that's supported us through the years. Shout out to the Delta Demons Discord. We had two of our boys compete with us, and it was really crazy intense. And shout out to Headshot. Shout out to Headshot for always believing in the boy. And of course my teammates Equal and Wasabi. Those are my boys, and that's it. That is I think that's it. And shout out to my mom and dad. Like
heck yeah.
They believed in me, so I'm basically a bum. So hopefully this game does well. All I do is play this game.
Hey, you're not a bum in game, and I doubt you're above IRL, man. Very well done. Congratulations yet again. Go celebrate and have a good time. And play some more Delta Force, dude.
Oh yeah, I'm playing some more after this. We're gonna rat some extracts. Actually, like all these seasonal quests, we are gonna have some fun tonight.
Heck yeah, man. Yeah. Good luck, and I'm sure we'll see you in a future Delta Force esports broadcast.
Thank you.
Well, cheers, Tiff. Another great interview. A little bit of secret strats there, some opinions around some things, and I respect it. I mean, obviously dedicated to his craft, obviously dedicated to the game, and huge congrats to those guys for the win.
That was a wild ride, and I'm not just talking about the games, the interview too, but honestly, Gosh, maybe me and you should go get some of those seasonal things done and go rat some extracts. I'm feeling the vibes. I really kind of want to take that energy on and just go do some of that myself, because why not, right? It's almost midnight here. It's DGen hours.
Yeah. Hey, look, I'm going Byron. I'm sprinting at admin. I'm running 0 damn runs. Tiff, any final words for you on the broadcast? I had a great week with you with Delta Force. We had so many events this week and more coming down the line, I'm sure. But any final words for the people at home? They've had a chance to see you a ton here in the Delta Force ecosystem.
Nah, just go play some Delta Force. Have some fun. Take everything that you've learned throughout our warfare and operations, and whether or not you saw the show matches and you dived into the more competitive esports side of thing, it's just been an absolute blast to meet so many of the Delta Force community members and competitors and just see their journey on and the hopes for the future in general, because I know that there's more in the pipeline, and I hope that we just keep on the up and up.
It's a great shout, Tiff. Thank you so much yet again for joining me in the booth. I couldn't have done it without you. I appreciate you a ton, and I'm sure we'll see you in the future. Well, folks at home, it is time finally to close this thing out. We've had a great week. I think we had, I don't even know how many shows at this point, but it's been a ton of fun. And it's going to close out somehow the end of the Delta Force Global League Season 1. We had Warfare all day yesterday, Operations all day today. And if this hasn't incentivized you to go download Delta Force, I don't know what will. Go check out the official launcher on the website. You can go to the Epic Games Store. You can go to Steam. Go download the game. It's free to play, and they are always going to be committed to no pay to win. You got to check it out, especially if you're a fan of playing on PC. But if you're a mobile gamer or just want another way to play Delta Force on your lunch break or anywhere in between, go get Delta Force on mobile. It is officially launched, and I'm gonna be honest, if you even just compare mobile and PC, the graphics are nearly perfectly comparable. It's unbelievable, and it can run on like an iPhone 6. Every device that you could think of, you're running Delta Force on it. Cross progression and everything in between. Go get the game right now. iOS App Store or Android Google Play Store. And finally, I want to remind you to drop a follow again on all major socials. We've been live all week on just about every single platform you can think of. Delta Force is committed to making sure that you get all Delta Force news, updates, events, and everything in between on just about every single social media. So go drop that follow. Join the Discord. You want a chance to compete in events like this? You want a chance to give your feedback about events like this? Hop in the Discord, drop your feedback. The devs are always listening. I think they actually had a Q&A with Shadow, the game director, today between these two broadcasts. That's how much they're committed to listening to the people and thinking about what you all want to, so they can implement it into the game. And finally, there is a brand new Twitter or X account out there for Delta Force Esports. I'm going to read it out for you. You can go to x.com/DFGameEsports or just type in @DFGameEsports. Go drop them a follow, because that's going to be all of your esports news all in one place, including highlights from potentially these events and maybe all of those leaderboards. But folks, a great week of Delta Force, and I've got to remind you that we couldn't have done it without you, the viewer. So thanks for tuning in to all of our amazing broadcasts this week. I think we've got another show in just a couple days time on Tuesday. Don't miss it. I believe it's 1 p.m. Central Time. It's going to be a ton of fun, and I'll be there with you. But until then, hope you have a great rest of your weekend and enjoy some more Delta Force. Certain of that, as maybe Chompin will be our first aggressive player to take some shots down lane. It's just twisted minds trying to get the better of their opponents and strung up this raw loot that's going to be on the ground.
Well, look at this. We've already turned it around, and FN9 pushes in with one and only right at their back. And
I think they are all gone. Well played. He's going to get out of there in time. Oh, he's going to sneak up on it. Full send. Here we go. Last millisecond.
120 to 90 seconds with Season 4. Still takes a while to build on up, and that high...
Our teams is already fully eliminated. Now, I got to get confirmation exactly which squad that was.
It's going to be okay here, but we talked about that early action that was going to be happening, and the full send on this gets the best of him. So Rogue Pringle, who had got Chompin back up on their feet, is having just kind of fall back, but picks up a knock, so at least working on evening things.
Jump on that squad when you've got player advantage. And, well, that'll work.
Rax.
A little bit more of what I was expecting to see. And, oh my, yeah, spotted him out in the open and took the pot shot. Didn't right. This isn't a tough one, but you can make it tough on yourself if you get picked. Savi squad nowhere in sight, and Grim is able to grab a knock on Chomp, and this is just a frustrating map for that team. And I guess that's the efficacy come out on top of this one. Not even in the lobby, but here we go. Here's the angle, and Wasabi can't hit anything in the broadside of the barn.
So EBT there on the left hand.
Speaking of the circle of life, equal place, making a mistake and getting punished for it. Out in the open, looking for info. Key here, Tiv, is they cannot trade. They have to get a full kill in. Well, I spoke a little bit too soon. Now he is
Angle on this area. They've already made the call, and look who's got Wasabi in their sights for them at this point, because it's going to be one of those domino effects. Spades may have just minds who need to break into the top 3, but Rogue Pringle.
People in here.
It's a good opening. You don't
Chomp and Abira is doing the best they can given the situation. Pushing her most likely can even get a trade at the very least. She wrote, they're going to get out with over 12 million, but it's going to be insane. The problem is there's no more seats. There's no way for him to leave.